All right, welcome back everybody to 2 pools 2 group stage. Now we're going to have a winners match, which means that both of these teams have won in the previous round, and the winner of this match will go into the quarterfinals, whereas the loser will have to play the decider game in the group stage. We will have Aftermath, MbL+Nicov, the previous champions of the tournament in 2019. They won 2 pools with Hera being their backup, but was mostly MbL+Nicov playing. Now Hera is playing for Tempo Storm. MbL+Nicov going in with Forest Pond and Kawasan as their home maps. Their opponents will be Miguel+Dogao, the Brazilian duo, with Cape of Storms and Team Islands as their home maps. We'll have Huns, Malay, Persians, Franks, Italians for Aftermath as their pool 1. Burgundians, Turks, Burmese, Goths, Teutons as their pool 2. And on the other side, Heresy will be operating with Lithuanians, Vikings, Chinese, Malians, Mongols, alongside Cumans, Koreans, Spanish, Celts, and Sicilians. So, with that, let's join up with Ornlu once again to get his insights on these civilizations. Alright, so welcome back, Ornlu. I'm going to jump right on top of you with this one. Give me your thoughts about this matchup in terms of civs and in terms of, like, how do you feel about these civs on the map pool that we have for this set?
Well, that is an excellent question, Lita, and I am not at all using that to buy time to look it up and see what's going on. So I think that... Okay, we've got a pretty normal-ish looking set of maps. Yeah, I don't know. Do you see anything exciting?
Team Islands versus MbL+Nicov will be interesting, that's for sure. Not something that MbL necessarily loves to play, that's certain. What is more interesting, I believe, is the Britain's ban from Aftermath. That feels a little bit off. Because even though Britain's a top-tier archer civ, there is many alternatives, and you would think that Britons really start to gain their power in 3v3s when your team bonus starts to come into play. So, while I understand that you want to ban a good archer civ, I just feel like banning Britons does very little, because there is still Chinese, Ethiopians, and many other archer civs available. So that's a little bit awkward, at least, for me. I'm going for Kawasan. That's not a major surprise, I believe. They kind of like that map. Forest Pond is more interesting. I'm curious what Aftermath thinks about that map. Whereas Heresy is also going for a unique map for a tournament, which is Cape of Storms, and also going for Team Islands. Sort of as a reaction to the opponent, I would say. So they probably go for Team Islands because they know that they're up against MbL+Nicov, and MbL will most likely attempt a landing in that map, and they probably are prepared for that.
I think that is pretty reasonable. Also, both Miguel and Dogao are fantastic water players themselves, so I think they're just pretty comfortable there.
So, with that, I think that we can actually jump into game number 1. I'm at 6 seconds and paused, so whenever you're ready, we can actually get going with this one. And, oh yeah, the players messed up the color picking, so we'll have to do some trickeration.
Minus 30% prize pool.
We'll have to do some trickeration. Thankfully, Capture Age allows casters to change colors for players now, which is a massive advantage. So we can fix issues like this.
How do you do that?
You just click the name of the player in the bottom right.
Oh, I see. So what do you want to do?
I'm actually going with
green.
Yeah, I made Heresy like Miguel into green and Nicov into red and MbL into yellow. That's probably the easiest way of doing this. So cold colors for Heresy and warm colors for Aftermath.
Okay, so wait, you had blue for Dogao, green for Miguel?
Yes, exactly. So if you're at 6
All right,
seconds,
I thought it'd be
good
helpful to be on the same page with that thing.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing to synchronize that before we start casting. Otherwise, it's going to lead into massive confusion.
Anyway, I'm at 6 seconds as well.
All right, let's do a countdown then with 3, 2, 1, and welcome to the first game in this best of 5 in between MbL+Nicov versus Miguel+Dogao. This could very well be even like a semi-final level quality set. So both of these teams are actually good candidates to get into maybe even the semi-finals. So it's going to be an eye candy to see this matchup in the group stage. The winner is in the quarterfinals. The loser will have to play a decider game next week to have a chance at the quarterfinals. MbL will be playing Turks in yellow on the south, and Nicov will be playing as Franks in red, and we're going to see a somewhat uncommon use of Turks in this tournament. Mostly it was used as your cavalry civ. MbL will be using it as an archer civ. And on the north, Dogao with Chinese in blue, and Spanish for Miguel in green. Which combo of civs do you prefer here?
This is an interesting one for sure. Once again, we're seeing that difference. One team picking the good archer civ, one team picking the good cav civ. I said it in the last set, but I prefer having the better archer civ, and I also think that Dogao really, really strong in that role. But Turks as an archer civ, I like maybe a little bit more than Spanish as a cav civ.
I can agree with that. I totally agree that Franks will have a pretty decent edge all across the game until basically trade starts to become a factor. Franks are better in every aspect of the game than Spanish are. On the other hand, Chinese are probably way better than Turks as an archer civ. I think what is going to be interesting to see is when MbL is going to switch to cav archers, because that's going to be an underrated part of this game, that once MbL switches into cav archers, suddenly there is going to be a massive mobility advantage for MbL+Nicov with cav archers and the Frankish heavy cavalry as compared to foot archers from Chinese.
I mean, I keep on thinking we're going to see cav archers, but then it's like every time we see Turks played as an archer civ, it's just like, okay, we're just going to go for crossbowmen because all we ever do is just go knights and crossbowmen, or Indians if we're like, or camels if you're Indians. But yeah, I'd love to see some cav archers for sure.
Eventually, he will have to tech into that, like once we get to Imperial Age-ish. The real question is, when is he gonna go for that? He's got a fairly defendable base, although the south is a little bit open, so technically, like, the Droshevsky crossbow play from MbL is very possible. Although I feel like MbL is not really a big fan of the Droshevsky style. He's more like the early aggressive type of a person.
Nah, he's more like the early defensive type of person. He's the type of guy who will rush up to feudal age just to be fully walled.
Yeah, he will obviously go for many, many walls, as we know, for MbL, but he's still one of the people that just walls himself up and then goes for the attack, and making sure that his opponent isn't able to counterattack him. But he's not really the type of guy that goes for a lot of Droshevsky's, as opposed to, as you said, Heresy, where Dogao is just super lethal with his Droshevsky. Speaking of Droshes, that's going to be a premium Drosh with his Chinese here, and an amazing map for a Droshevsky.
Yeah, that is not at all bad. I mean, it's not like the best map ever, but it is more than sufficient. Going for a pre-mill drush with Chinese that's a really tricky thing to do, but looks like I'm sure Dogao has it figured out. He's a better player than me as a rule.
Yeah, you're right. Like, this is actually extremely hard to execute because, like, the Chinese start is already somewhat wacky compared to other starts. Squeezing in a barracks and consistently being able to afford the militias is very, very tricky. On the other hand, this is something that Dogao always says, that in order to be a good Drush Civ, you have to have some sort of Dark Age eco bonus. So, for example, like, as an example, Vikings are an awful Drush Civ, despite the fact they're technically an infantry-focused Civ, because they don't have an eco bonus in Dark Age. Whereas Chinese, they have a nice eco bonus with the extra villages that you have. MbL will spot the militias, and MbL is going for a premier Drush himself.
But Dogao does slip up. He's housed. That's going to delay the third militia.
Yeah, we did talk about the fact that this is very, very tricky to pull off. Still, I think he can hold this hill quite nicely, but as you said, those militias being delayed could be quite problematic, but at the end of the day, this would just be the two Drushes cancelling each other most likely, although Nicov is coming in with his own scout to help out.
Yep, both of the scout-making players are going up on 20 population. Nice, like, 2-villager advantage for Dogao, so I'm sure he has very minimal idle TC time. But one additional unit with the scout here of his opponent. Villagers can be brought to the party. Don't really think any vills are going to go down. and it's just the militia are just going to more or less kill each other.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if this was sort of like intentional from either of these players, expecting the opponent to go for a pre-milled rush and saying, okay, I'm going to pre-milled rush to make sure that we just cancel each other's rushes and don't lose anything.
Yep. I think that could be that could certainly be a possibility. I know, like, when I'm playing a Chinese, I kind of struggle against early, like, men-at-arm aggression, early drushes, just because I feel like I never feel comfortable doing that myself. But I guess if you are good enough that you can squeeze out a drush or even a men-at-arm rush, then yeah, I guess you can make it work.
Now, we would like to point out that indeed it's a Drush FC from Dogao as things stand, adding quite a lot of farms here. Obviously, Chinese is one of the best civs to do this one. Being able to add those farms, having the extra food on it is a massive advantage for Dogao, who might lose a villager here.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
Not necessarily a fan of bringing out a villager over there to take that fight, and MbL is going to snipe one. That was a little bit interesting from Dogao, because he didn't necessarily have to take that fight with just 2 villagers, so it's a little sloppy from him. Still, as things stand, MbL is going for a drush into archers, which, with 23 villagers only, that is a little bit low for a drush archers play, though. Especially from Turks that don't have an amazing eco behind this one. MbL with forward tower coming in on the berries. He wants to stop that drush FC, but there's gonna be scouts coming from Miguel, so this is going to be tricky for MbL to pull off. MbL tower rush in a 2v2, man.
Just MbL things. He really is, like, when it comes to Hidden Cup, it's like MbL is like the first player everyone recognizes. He just has such a distinct way of playing the game. But we'll see how this is going to work. That's 5 villagers forward? Dang.
Yeah, he's really gonna stop that, or at least he will attempt to stop this one. Dogao's food count isn't looking amazing, so it could very well be a possibility. Miguel's scouts are around, but they're not close enough to stop that tower, and that means that Dogao will lose his berries, which obviously hurts really badly for him.
Yeah, and he had a lot of idle time on the berries specifically, since he was having to fight off the enemy drush. So this could be exactly what MbL is looking for. And I think, you never want to let your opponent go for a free drush fast castle, especially if it's somebody who is as good as it as Dogao, as he just seems to be so strong in doing that particular build with archers and team games.
Yeah, but it seems like this is a successful tower for MbL. He doesn't even have to pursue this further, because he delays this Drush FC really well. Like, Dogao's at 500 food. He, with 8 farms only, he won't be able to get up to Castle H easily. He's also a little bit low on gold. So this is going to be very troublesome for Dogao. He's going to go for a range right now. Counterattack coming in from Miguel, though, towards the base of MbL, and that could be troublesome for MB.
Yes, here they are. Scouts are incoming. Gonna pick off a spearman with complete ease. Complete open base for MbL. Turns out, a 2v2 is not a 1v1, and even if you have one opponent pinned in their base, the other one can just run around and attack you when you're exposed at home, so that's going to be a dead villager. For MbL, going to sort of even things out as far as it goes. But the other quick balls, I think, are going to be sufficient.
I think the main thing...
I'm wrong.
Boy, that's a disaster for MbL, and the main thing is that behind this one, Miguel is completely untouched, so currently, as things stand, Dogao is sort of absorbing the damage output of both MbL and Nicov, and we have a completely untouched player, Miguel, and the eco now is much better as well for Dogao, because he's able to defend against this tower aggression very nicely, and he's not losing villagers unlike MbL.
Well, Nicov is also completely untouched. And Dogao's still going to squeeze in Castle Age, clicking up at around 16 minutes when you're under this much pressure. Not at all bad.
Yeah, this is actually
not ideal, obviously, but still pretty strong.
Like, this is absolutely amazing from Dogao. Being under this much pressure, losing the berries, losing a villager early on, this is some top-tier Drush FC build that we're seeing here from Dogao, given the circumstances. Still, he's going to be slowed down, but now he can counter-tower this. He doesn't have stone inside his base, so that means that he will not go for additional TCs.
Yeah, Nicov, meanwhile, next player up to Castle Age, he has been completely untouched. So yeah, just super
Oh,
smooth.
MbL's
Frank killed
villagers
with
though
him.
on the tower. I think Dogao can just camp down the bottom of that tower, and that would be disaster for MbL.
Can't the other tower range?
I don't think so, or at least it's not doing that.
No, it can't. Maybe you needed fletching, but looks like MbL is probably trying to skip out on fletching for a faster Castle Age, but never mind, he is nowhere near Castle Age. He's just super all in with this Feudal Age pressure.
And that could be troublesome for Dogao, because now the scouts are in, and as you said, if we get to Castle Age for both Heresy players, then suddenly that becomes very troublesome for MbL+Nicov. But now we have a bunch of scouts inside the base of Dogao, and that's exactly what he wanted to avoid with those walls.
Yeah, only the second range now incoming. This is actually really painful. These are Frank scouts with +1 defense. They can just run right past the castle, or castle town center. Yeah, this is actually looking really rough for Dogao. It looks like MbL and Nicov were well prepared for the Dogao Drush FC.
Yeah, they were very well prepared, and they knew exactly how to stop it. And this is now looking really grim for Dogao, because he's got basically no eco behind this one. And yeah, MbL is Feudal Age, but Dogao won't get anything out of his Drush FC. He will be able to afford Crossbone, which helps a little bit, but he's down to 29 villagers. Although, honestly, MbL is at 36, and MbL hasn't clicked up to Castle Age, so Dogao is gonna be behind, but the early Crossbowman might save the day here for him.
Certainly could be the case. Now we have both of the cavalry players now in Castle Age. Oh no, looks like Dogao trying to go get some gold. MbL saying no to that one.
Beautiful unit control from Nicov as well. He took the hill with that scout before the scout goes down, and took another villager. Dogao lost 11 vills, and that is not great. Even if he's Chinese, so he would have like 3 extra vills, that is still 8 villagers dead from him. The only good news for him now is that MbL is still Feudal Age, which means that he will not be able to do anything against crossbows and knights.
No, he will not, especially if he is wide open like he is at home. Those villagers on the stone mine also super exposed.
Knights now coming in here for Nicov though, so Dogao is gonna have to defend against those as well. Nice quick walls from him. And Miguel's actually playing a fairly greedy game here with 3 TC play. I'm just noticing, Miguel is 1 stable. Miguel goes super greedy on this one. So it looks like...
No, he's 2 stables.
Is he? Oh,
Yep.
Oh, that stable was just hiding in between those houses. Okay, that is what you would expect from him. Only +1 defense for Nicov. There is +1/+1 for Miguel. And I think that in this situation I like forging more than the +2 defense, because you're mainly up against knights, and MbL's archers aren't really a big deal.
I don't think it should matter all that much either way. But when it comes to just the straight up fighting, going to be a little bit, I guess, in favor of Nicov. Has a few more knights at this particular moment. Still, the Cav players are more or less even, right? So now the question is, has Dogao been enough delayed that MbL is just going to have a big advantage over his opponent? He's still 2 minutes away from Castle Age. He's still fairly exposed at home. But if things stand, he's going to be looking really good.
Yeah, if things stay this way, and I think things will stay this way, because Nicov, all he needs to do is just cancel knights, like trade it off to the knights of Miguel, because Dogao right now is barely able to move out, although he's taking down that tower now, and MbL has to run back home. This is the moment to shine for Dogao, because those knights only have +1 defense, so the crossbows will actually be fairly decent against them. And it's
a lot of knights are very low HP as well. Oh, Nicov doing the best he can to take the high ground. That was some weird pathing, though. Did you see those knights just, like, try and purposely get to the low ground before attacking?
Yeah, that was awkward, and this is exactly the window that Miguel and Dogao need. They need to do damage on MbL, because they're behind by 20 vills. And if MbL gets to Castle Age, he's gonna have like 10 crossbows as well, which should be enough to hold MbL rushing up defensive towers. It's almost a now or never situation for Miguel and Dogao here.
Yeah, very much. So, looks like Dogao going to be deflected for the time being. And honestly, for being AM, I'm really impressed by the preparation of Nicov and MbL. Well, actually, no. Nicov, definitely someone who can do a lot with preparation. But regardless, this is probably not going to go all that well for Miguel+Dogao.
Definitely not. I would like to highlight that despite the fact that both cavalry players are on 3 TCs, Nicov is at 71 villagers, and his counterpart, Miguel, is at 60, so massive villager difference between both the archer players and the cavalry players, resulting in an overall 20 villagers lead for AM.
Yeah, Nicov, obviously, quite a good boomer. I mean, so is Miguel, and Miguel does have a wheelbarrow, but I guess Miguel, he has Frank's, Nicov has Frank's eco, whereas Miguel, not much of an eco bonus with Spanish, just a fast-working builders, not that big of a deal. But still, it's looking at like 11 knights to 6 right now.
And a bunch of crossbows heading towards Nicov, and MbL is a little bit behind when it comes to catching up. In fact, he's very, very far behind when it comes to catching up with those crossbows, and this is the moment where Nicov could actually get at least some idle time on his eco, and his knights only have +1 defense, so they melt to crossbows pretty easily.
And Miguel, better blacksmith upgrades for sure, +1, +2. And MbL switching over into the cav archers, and although they are going to be much better in the long run than our crossbowmen, they're going to take some time before they really become scary, and now those stables are being focused down. I really like to see that, and is that lion going to kill a knight? Oh, rip the lion.
Feels bad. Indeed, as you said, cav archers will actually be a lot better for Turks in the long run, but they need a lot of time to get there, and because of that, the momentum could shift towards Miguel+Dogao, even though Miguel just lost a couple of knights to famous and well-renowned Turkish spearmen.
It's the spearman least expected that is the most powerful.
Ballistics now
like
coming
that.
in for Dogao, and we shouldn't underestimate 27 crossbows with decent upgrades, soon to be ballistics versus CA that won't have ballistics anytime soon, neither Thumbring, and CA are awfully inaccurate when it comes to that, but if you're a micro nerd like MbL, you might just out-micro your opponent with cav archers here.
Yeah, that's always a possibility, but ballistics in, you can't out-micro a ballistics. Only if you're Leary.
Yeah, exactly.
No, correction. Only Leary would try to micro ballistics. Oh, man. But crossbowman reinforcements, this is, of course, one of the big advantages of CA, even in low numbers, is that you can pounce on, small numbers of reinforcing crossbowmen quite effectively. But to me, the scariest thing is look at Miguel's knight production, man. It is so strong. 18 knights for him.
Yeah, it is looking like we're going to see sort of a Castle Age all in here from Heresy, being aware of the fact that they're behind in army numbers or in villager numbers, but it's fully upgraded Castle Age Knights for Miguel, and Nicov doesn't have those numbers on the field anymore. It's 19 Knights against 4, and those cav archers are still missing ballistics, missing Thumbring, and suddenly this is looking really grim for AM.
Yeah, we might have been seeing the AM guys go a little too greedy. I mean, you saw Nicov, he had a very strong eco, but not really focusing as much in terms of the upgrades. Early crossbow numbers better than the early cav archer numbers. And this has now gone from really bad for LOS Migdog to really good as Nikov's getting wrecked.
Yeah, Nicov is getting annihilated here, and that is looking really bad. Miguel just applying the pressure roll with those knights, and this is what I was asking, that the main question with Turks is when you switch to cav archers, because if you switch too early, you would just get overrun by crossbows and knights, but if you switch too late, you will have a bunch of crossbows that you won't be able to use in the long run. Still, the villager count for Nicov is not that awful. It's 87 compared to 97, and I mean, overall villager count is still close, but Nikov's eco is just basically completely idle.
I mean, this game is more or less over at this point. Yes, the villager count is still the lowest here for Dogao, but Miguel is on 5 TCs, just pumping knights out of 4 stables. Full upgrades on those guys, like you said. Really, really strong.
More villagers getting picked up here from Nicov, and indeed now Nicov is at 86 villagers, but it's more about the idle time. He's got 40 idols as things stand. And if you look at the overall idle time, Nicov had 2.5 hours of Will idle time, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's that is what we call not good. Nevertheless, the cav archer numbers are now getting to the point when they are quite strong. You have 23 cav archers here. I believe they have full upgrades for MBL, other than Walt Sapahi, but other than that, they have very good upgrades. Dogao's eco is obviously quite bad. He's on 4 ranges, but forward castle now coming in here from Miguel, and it's just, can MBL stop Miguel? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, especially with Cavalier coming in. That's the main thing. In fact, not even Cavalier, but +4 defense. Like, Nicov actually made a Barax back at his base. I'm pretty sure that's just the wrong hotkey for him. But that Imperial Age for Miguel, and we have a fully boomed Paladin player. That's gonna be great, and look at the counterattack from Dogao as well, hitting the wood line of MBL, intercepting the crossbows as well.
Yeah, this is, well, I guess that's a lot of Cav Archers, right? And now that the upgrades are in, the Cav Archers are going to be much, much, much more population efficient than the crossbowmen, having, you know, double the health and even a bit more attack.
That's absolutely right. Like, 25 crossbows is something that or 25 Cav Archers is way better than, like, 20 crossbows or so. But on the other hand, what can Cav Archers do against soon-to-be Cavalier? Especially because the Cavalier will just ignore the Cav Archers and run straight into MBL's base and kill his eco.
That's also certainly a possibility, but I guess Miguel does need to make sure he doesn't die at home to Cav Archers. But if he even just plays a little bit defensively until his own Cavalier upgrade comes in, I just don't see how you're stopping this if you are MbL+Nicov. Also, something I do want to give a lot of credit to Miguel for is getting those early attack upgrades at the Blacksmith. Like, when that big fight happened, it was +2 attack versus +0 attack, and obviously that can make a big, big difference.
Nice counter rate here from MbL, picking off 7 villagers or so, and Miguel was a little slow to react to this one. Thumbbrain coming in for Dogao, though, for his crossbows, and more importantly, Cavalier, Plate Boarding, and double Blacksmith, by the way, for Miguel. He's going for Plate Boarding and Blast Furnace at the same time.
Well, I mean, I said I wanted to give credit to Miguel prioritizing those Blacksmith upgrades, and he really wants to just live up to that.
Yeah, obviously, the fact that Spanish don't need to spend gold on that actually helps quite a bit when it comes to this. Something that is sort of an underrated bonus, and it looks like Miguel will split his army, send some of the Cavalier to clean this one up, although we should add that Miguel's eco is not looking that great now. He's at 104 villagers with 40 idols, as opposed to Nicov, who is still at 127.
I mean, like, both these guys are on, actually, no, Nikov's on 6 town centers, man. Oh, just boomer things. But now something that's also worth mentioning is that Dogao is ahead in eco compared to MbL, who's still stuck on only the 1 town center. Dogao with another crossbow counterattack. And, ooh, quick walls. Wait a minute, you don't want to just be giving those Cav Archers a nice little nook like that. That's not what you want to do.
But you also don't want to let those Cav Archers slip away, but I think this is the big deal. Miguel is gonna have like 15 Cavalier running straight into MBL's base, and the big problem for Nicov is that he's having the eco lead compared to Miguel now. He's getting his knight numbers up as well. He's clicking into imp, but 3 minutes to imp is a long, long time, man.
It is indeed, and I guess they're doing a good job of trying to keep, you know, Miguel back at home as long as possible, but eventually Miguel's going to cross the map with a bunch of Cavalier, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Yeah, you're not going to stop this if you're MbL.
On the other hand, we have a bit of an issue here for Miguel, though, because Nicov is doing a very, very nice job with the counter rate, and as you always say, MbL is so good at just dying slowly, and if we actually look at the numbers, villager numbers now for Nicov, suddenly we could get to a point where he could actually get to Paladin, and Miguel's eco is in ruins, but MbL resigns faster.
It's just way too far gone at this point. Nicov, nice job recovering in the booming department, but being so far behind in Imperial Age time, it's just not something you can really compete against, and then even Dogao at that point, so much stronger in economy than MbL.
Yeah, nicely done. This was a tricky game because for quite a while it seemed like MbL and Nicov are dominating, but then maybe I think the combination of Nicov going for an eco-heavy approach and MbL switching into CA too early was the big problem for them. So if Nicov goes for a bit more upgrades and MbL switches to CA, they are fine. Or if MbL stays on crossbows a little longer so he has like good numbers and good upgrades on them, that could also have been fine, because I think the Cav Archer switch is always a tricky thing to do and it takes some time to get the benefit from it. And the same thing for the eco-heavy approach of Nicov, so they had like a window where they were very exposed to just a flood of knights from Miguel and the crossbows of Dogao.
Yeah, and this is what the Brazilian guys have always been great at. It's just taking those engagements. Just how Dogao and Miguel take engagements has always been their strongest, I guess, skill set as a 2v2 team. It goes all the way back to watching them play in World Cup, at least for me. Not World Cup, Nations Cup, way back in the day. Yeah, so really, really nicely done there.
So, with that, Heresy takes game number 1, which means that we either go to Forest Pond or we go to Kawasan. I'm not sure which of these is a better map for AM. Maybe Kawasan is a little bit more traditional, so you could make a case for using that. But on the other hand, they might have a surprising strategy for Forest Pond, and indeed we're going to Forest Pond over here for Aftermath. The thing is that this is sort of a unique map, as I'm paused at exactly 13 seconds.
Alrighty, now I am too.
Alright, so let's go 3, 2, 1, and go. So, what I don't necessarily like about this map for Aftermath is that this is a specialized map, and AM is very good on standard maps, whereas Brazil is always very, very good when it comes to preparing for these unique maps. They're very innovative in strategies. I can actually relate to a good example with that. In Empire Wars Duo last summer, we had a brand new map which was like Golden River, which was basically like Golden Swamp, but with a river in the middle instead. Or like a sort of a mangrove-ish river. The idea was that, I don't even remember what strategy it was, but Miguel and Dogao sort of pioneered that strat over there. And then there were like 3 other teams that pretty much started copying that exact same strategy on that map. And because of that, like, that just shows how innovative Miguel and Dogao can be in new maps. And this is why I'm a little bit scared for MbL+Nicov bringing them to a map that could definitely have sort of that innovation effect in it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see because, well, this is AM's home map, and this is not something you'd expect from them. So they did this for a reason, right? So let's see what they have in mind. For AM, we have MbL as the yellow Malay, and oh wait, the colors are messed up again.
Yeah, we are.
Oh yeah, wait, they are messed up again.
Okay, so I think that we should go for green for Miguel once again, and just Nicov with red. That's the easiest way of doing things.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, wait, something looks wrong. So yeah, Burmese for Nicov, and then Malay for MbL, the Rajas duo here.
Exactly. Burmese and Malay versus the Nomad duo, Cumans and Mongols. I'm gonna throw you an interesting trivia question here. If the Cuman player goes for Cuman mercenaries, will the Mongols player that makes those Kipchak receive the Mongol bonus of faster firing cav archers on them?
Yes.
That's a cool thing.
Next question. Yeah, they do. They benefit from them.
Okay, so it's very interesting to see Cumans on this map indeed for Miguel. I also feel that Cumans and Mongols are a little bit mismatched as a civilization combo because both of them are like, well, technically Mangodai Paladin is an insanely scary duo, but both of those take forever to get to, so it's like you don't really have anything going in for you in mid-game. Whereas on the other side, Burmese and Malay, both of those could actually think about elephants, or potentially a Rambai for Nicov could be an idea with a castle drop.
Oh yeah, certainly. In general, I guess you could have like Burmese going cavalry and then Malay going archers. I mean, it could be like Malay do the water fighting and then Burmese. You could see Nicov just go like booming and plus knights and then just switch into a Rambai or something else later on. Or you could go for the castle drop play as well. Maybe especially against humans, you would want to go for a castle drop because they tend to die to those sorts of things. But I agree with you that humans Mongol seems like a very weak combo on this map.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Especially, I think the biggest trick or problem for Cumans is that Cumans usually reach Castle Age later than others if they go for a 2TC play. But I'm really unsure if we're even going to see a 2TC play, because on a hybrid map that you still prioritize water play and you won't be able to afford a second TC. Or it would be a crazy build from Miguel if he was able to afford water play and a second TC at the same time as well. But if that is happening, then Nicov should just castle drop him because he's gonna be later to castle age.
Exactly, and that's kind of why humans feel a little sus on this map. You just don't have the wood, at least you shouldn't have the wood, to be able to afford both a town center and any sort of necessary amount of ships. But to me, always an interesting question is, like, how much do you want to commit to water? Because we've seen teams undercommit and overcommit to water, and it seems like maybe just having like one player go water and then one player focus on land is probably the best bet.
Yeah, to me it seems like it, but it's very, very tricky on this map. Because if you think about it, if you just say, okay, I'm gonna go one player on water, one player on land. If the land player push stalls out, suddenly you're in a situation where you could get 2v1 on water, the opponent wins water, and then you just have a crazy fish boom for your opponent. We have a very, very front dog coming in here for Dogao, so he wants to secure that advantage, and one of the things that Mongols give you on this map is a fast feudal, sort of as a counterpart to the Malay having a fast feudal. Speaking of the Malay player, though, MbL is still 40 seconds away from feudal. That's a blazing fast feudal for Dogao.
It is indeed, but it's still slower than Mongols, who already have some fire galleys at around 70% completion. Something I note is Miguel's on stone. So he could, I guess, just go fast castle Kipchoks.
Yeah, it very much seems like it is the case, although it's only one villager on stone, and now he's clicking up to feudal. Yeah, it's gonna be a fast castle build if you look at those resources. That seems to be satisfactory for an FC. And I'm starting to feel like they pick Kumans here, sort of because they don't have anything other Civ that they could use from the second pull here. And they were like, okay, let's try to do something just like a castle drop play. And what civs can you use for a castle drop? You could use Spanish, for example, but they went for it on Arabia. They could use Kumans, and that's basically their two civs. Like, Kumans, Burmese, and Spanish are the civs that really are legitimate castle drop civs on this map, I would think.
I can see it done with, like, Turks.
Yeah, maybe Turks. But probably nothing else than that. I think we have seen Turks castle drops, indeed. I forgot about those. So, we're gonna have some Fire Galley scuffle over here. For now, it looks like both MbL+Nicov are going for Fire Galleys, which is an interesting change of things, though, because I would have expected the Burmese player to go for the Arambai.
Yeah, kind of interesting in that respect, especially, like, you'd think maybe one player goes galley, one player goes fire galley, but nope, just all fire galleys all day, every day. And some demos.
In that case, I actually start to like Miguel's position a lot better than AM's position, because, as you said, if you double team water, you risk getting destroyed on land, and that could be a big demo hit here for Dogao. Nice splits here for AM, but...
What?
That was very unlucky for Dogao. He should have just deleted that demo. If he deletes it, it sinks two ships. Was a little bit underwhelming, and now AM is killing the fishing eco of Heresy here, but Miguel even able to squeeze in double bit axe before clicking up to Castle Agent. He's heavy on stone, man. This is tricky because EM is going to grab water control very easily, which means that they will be able to compensate for their later Castle Agents with fishing eco, but it's almost guaranteed Miguel is gonna go for a castle drop.
But, I mean, humans have no eco bonus at this point. You've lost your fishing ships, and you have to rely on the power of Kipchoks, which, yes, Kipchoks are a great Castle Age unit, and especially against Burmese, who tend to be weak to those sorts of things in general, but it's not going to be enough to overcome this disadvantage on water. I think it's really tricky.
I think the interesting factor right now could be a potential, Kipchak, castle drop, and then maybe even a cap dram push is something I can imagine, because something that Kumans have for them here is the ability to steamroll buildings very fast with cap drams.
That's very expensive. I mean, going for the castle, and then the siege workshop, and then getting the cap dram upgrade, 300 food.
It is expensive, that's absolutely true, but when you have a forward position like that with a castle, you don't need to rush it. You can take your time. So it's not like you're actually sort of hurrying. to get those rams in. First, you just open with a castle drop, kip checks. MbL will see that coming. He knows exactly the villagers are coming forward. But what can he do to stop that?
Not much, likely.
Still,
He's just not in castle age.
this is the tricky thing, as I said, because if you double team water, your food eco might be so much better than the opponent that you can just catch up in terms of castle age timing. And look at Nikov's castle age time. He's going to be in castle age soon as well, and Burmese could defend with monks, and I think that's a little bit too passive castle to my taste from Miguel. It's not really like... I think if you want a castle drop, you want to drop it in the face of the opponent. Like, this way, Nicov can just leave to the right side of his base. Here, your goal with a castle drop is to trap your opponent inside his base.
Yeah, I probably would have dropped it on the hill with the gold.
Yeah, that's legitimate. Or, depending on Miguel's scouting, in between the gold and the stone could have been even better, but Miguel has little scouting, so that's one of the reasons why he didn't see the gold. Still, I think it's a little too far away from MbL's base to do a lot of damage, and these things matter because, for example, that castle won't be able to destroy that market to open up the way into MbL's base, or Nikov's base in this case.
Maybe. Well, it can at least range the house.
Yeah, it can.
On the way. Second TC is coming in here for Miguel, so he will at least be adding in some sort of economy behind this. Not full 1 TC, but you don't really get any eco bonuses, humans, at that point, which is really unfortunate.
It's 82 villagers right now for Nikov's team, and it is just 65 for Miguel and Dogao. Not really ideal for the Brazilians in this case, and keep in mind that Malay Fish Boom is absolutely crazy on this map. So, like, at this point, MbL can go for an insane Fish Boom, something that I think Team Secret did back in the days in 2+1 on this map.
Yeah, gonna be just very strong in general. I mean, just having the fish at this point is so important. I mean, yes, it helps you get more villagers, but it also lets you get competitive castle age times to someone going for a fast castle, like Miguel is in this case. Nicov is just going to be adding in a bunch of defensive houses to create an additional layer of walls, defensive siege workshop on the way as well. But I don't really see much else of a plan from him. He's still quite far away from his own castle.
Wait a second. Nicov has a villager in between the bases of Miguel and Dogao building a dock. The only way you get there is if you walk all the way across through the base of Miguel. And that's exactly what Nicov is doing, and that's one of the reasons why this can be so tricky. Because you can actually have your base exposed at the back by like random villagers even coming in to potentially drop buildings, because that is definitely a possibility. MbL coming forward with what is going to be a pike and siege approach here for him. Massive eco lead for Aftermath as things stand. And a third TC coming in here for Miguel, but his push isn't really doing much here.
Yeah, and, you know, no eco bonus versus eco bonus. Not really the greatest thing in the world. MbL's eco is still fairly strong despite his aggressive posturing right now, and it's going to be a long time before Dogao can really offer anything himself militarily.
And it looks like Nicov just took some shortfish and now he's walking all the way back home with that villager. And I love how MbL also reacted to the kip check. It's not just Nicov. They knew exactly that if they can't push Nicov, they will push MbL, and MbL added a layer of houses to prevent the kip check from running in.
Yep, and that is exactly what you want to be doing. 3 Scorpions out right now here for our yellow player, MbL. What are these villagers up to? Actually, he's almost up with enough stone for his own castle.
Yeah, exactly. He's 10 on stone, so he wants a castle drop here. Like, he was very, very heavy on stone for a while now. And it would make sense to castle drop the opponent here, because they would have the eco lead, they would trap Dogao inside his base. Dogao also wants a castle for himself with 9 on stone. Defensive castle coming in here for Nicov. Nicov is making a transport, and he is getting close to clicking into Imperial, man. Nicov is playing this one so well.
Indeed he is. Looks like the Kipchak's trying to take down the Scorpions. 1 villager has gone down.
But those Kipchaks do not have a plus, like the Bloodlines component, so they're extremely fragile. Early Kipchaks are super fragile to Scorpions, despite the great micro from Miguel.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do to ever dodge that many Scorpion bolts. Arambai now coming in for Nicov. As
Here comes the transport. The transport. Look at Nikov's transport. This is One of the things that we don't often see on this map, but I love to see it whenever it happens, transporting a villager through the pond into the back of the opponent's base. Even though it will stop
what?
at... Well... Why? Like, at least burn down that wall and walk in. I think he's waiting for Imp. I think Nicov might be waiting for Imp, or this was like a completely mismanaged thing.
But like, what are you even gonna do with one villager?
I don't know, make a forward stable and make elephants.
What are you gonna do with one villager?
Make a dock, man. You make a dock here for some ultimate fishing. Nicov just made a transport to transport the villager in here, so he can make another dock and take fish right next to the opponent's base.
There we go. That's my kind of boomer.
Still nice defense over here from Nicov on land. The house walls are preventing a Kipchak from running in, and he will have a trap to take down the opponent's castle here, and he will just make a run-by, and he could transport those run-by into the opponent's base.
Exactly, and that play is going to be very strong. Town Center has been denied. Note that MbL seemed to have decided on not going for the castle, going to instead just go for a bajillion town centers, more or less.
Yeah, MbL just booming like a madman here. They already have some eco-lead, although most of it is gone now, but that is because Nico went up to Imperial, and that villager will now sail back home. Oh man. Look at all this fish. By the way, MbL is establishing a fishing eco with Malay fish traps. Needless to say, that's probably the best thing that you can do with your life on this map.
Unlimited food. Yeah. This is going to be really rough. The faster imp time is just going to be so critical in the Treb War. Notable that the castle of Miguel has been shooting at the castle of Nicov, and the castles do a fair amount of damage to each other, but the imp timing is just not even in yet for Miguel. He's still actually quite far away, so that's pretty rough, yeah.
We got the D-Day coming in here for Nicov. He actually lands the villager inside the base of Miguel's base now, dropping an outpost and checking out howdy neighbor.
Well, hi there, man. How are you doing today?
Imp will be way faster for MbL+Nicov though, and I think we're now seeing a very good example of what happens if you double team water, because that can also work. Because you're gonna have a crazy eco over your opponent and you will just beat them to Imp very easily. MbL will also go into Imp soon. If this castle goes up, which is not guaranteed because there is Manganos and Mangadice here.
Yeah, there's only 3 villagers building it.
By the way, MbL technically also has access to harbors, so he could land in the opponent's base and start dropping harbors if he wanted to. Unlikely to happen, but that's definitely a possibility as well. For now, Nicov is just dropping outposts and houses. Miguel also with his own outpost to see what is happening here. I'm actually really curious what Nicov is gonna do with that, but he could definitely land a couple of Arambai in the opponent's base.
Yeah, especially since the castle to the north of Miguel's base is going to be protecting him quite a bit. But now we have Dogao clicking up, but MbL is going to be up there even faster, going to be ahead in the Treb War. At least initially, it is still going to be like 1 castle to 2. But the eco of MbL is just so good right now. He can do pretty much whatever.
And MbL can afford a second castle as well, so as you said, it's currently 1 castle versus 2. And Karambit Warriors from MbL, interestingly, instead of making Trebs first. He gets a couple of Karambits out. Will now add Trebs, I believe.
Nice mangonel control there for Dogao. Was able to get a 1 for 0, and actually make that a 2 for 1 with the delete right there. Very nicely done. It's still going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, this is very much uphill's battle for Miguel and Dogao. Bloodlines coming in here for Nicov could be just for light cav, and here come the villagers. Here come the villagers from Nicov. Oh, gotta love that. And I think he will just drop stables inside the base of the opponent. Either for elephants, MbL's laming him with his own fire galley. Because that's a 1-tile gap, so you have to move away the ship from there. But, see, this is why I think Nicov made houses on the shoreline, to prevent the opponent from making houses there. And that way Nicov can just drop stables and go for Burmese elephants.
Well, the Arambai were in the base of Dogao, so Nicov was actually landing with units there, but now the Arambai are just sitting in the transport, and the transport getting killed by Mangudai, man! Oh
no! When was the last time you saw, like, Mangudai killing transport ships?
You don't see it all that often, that's for sure. But the Treb War being in favor of Dogao, or sorry, not in favor of Dogao, in favor of MbL is just absolutely massive.
And the castle drop. Nicov is going for castle drop, counter towers coming in here for Miguel. If this doesn't turn into a Doubt Castle, Miguel is so that he's just clicking into Imperial, but that is just a disaster. I think this castle goes up because there is enough Arambai to draw away the fire. And in terms of Trap War, like, Dogao is trying to get his traps up as well, but that means he's not producing Mangadai, and he's also trying to get a couple of kept rams. Kipchak trying to do some damage inside Nikov's eco, but the castle goes up for Nicov. Literally D-Day is happening here.
Pretty much. Arambai also add a ton of extra arrows to castles, and so the castle, with all of that bonus damage, is going to be able to take down even the town center super fast. This is just really awful right now for Dogao and Miguel.
Yeah, they have the eco, but they just don't have the momentum. One castle is lost here by Dogao, although he's going to launch counterattack with Rams, but I think that you can just make a couple of Karambits if you're MbL, and that's exactly what he's doing. Just take down the Rams with Karambits. He's got 5 trebs, 6 even now, to take down the castles from Dogao, and more importantly, Miguel is going to die very soon.
Oh yeah, he's gonna die, and even the villagers are gonna be doing work. Karambits are gonna be one of the better panic ram units out there.
Yeah, this is looking extremely good for MbL and Nicov, even though they didn't actually start setting up trade, which is something I dislike to a certain extent. But we currently see 2 separate 1v1s, and both of those are being won by the AM players.
And Karambits train real fast. There's already 21 of them out on the field. It looks like Karambit Skirmisher is going to be the army comp of choice.
And as a response,
they're just going to swarm over everything.
We'll have drill onagers coming in here for Dogao, or at least that's what he's hoping in, and MbL might lose 1 castle here. Nope. The castle will stay up, I believe, for MbL. And that's extremely important. 2nd castle coming in here for Nicov in the face of Miguel. Miguel is up to Imp, but it's like, welcome to Imperial Age. This is the end of the line here.
Yeah, it is 58 military to 16, Alita. That's a big difference.
And more importantly, the Arambai numbers are growing, and Arambai are actually a lot scarier in Imperial once you get all the upgrades. If you get the Manipur cavalry, they even do extra damage against buildings. And the biggest problem is that Miguel has to do a mass migration, so he's not in a position to actually make army.
Yeah. You know, maybe at this point, Dogao's kind of wishing he could sub out his teammate for Mamadou. Or Dogao wishing he could switch out Miguel for Mamadou.
Oh, onagers! Coming in here with some shots. Drill onagers actually run away from Karambits here nicely, and I mean, Dogao is doing work here, but that's just not enough. This game feels too far gone. MbL is actually taking into War Galley, which makes me wonder if we are going to see Cannon Galleons, but the answer is no.
Yeah, that was looking like one team knew how to play the map a lot better than the other.
Yeah, and I think this is why, like, one of the more interesting things to take a look at is that, as we said, it's sometimes better to just go for 1 player on water, 1 player on land, but if that doesn't work out, the team that is double teaming water is suddenly going to have a massive advantage in terms of eco, and that's exactly what we saw here, because this mostly was attributed to the eco advantage of MbL especially, but Nicov even though Nicov was at just the lowest resource gathered, he also did a lot of like disruption, so to say, like drop a cast in the opponent's base. So yeah, his eco wasn't the best in the game, but he was focusing on a very aggressive gameplay as opposed to MbL, who was just booming away completely untouched.
Yeah, and also just the Imperial Age timing difference, absolutely massive. Cleaned up the castles, slows down Kipchak production, and just great defense in general from AM. And they will be tying up the series 1 to piece, or 1 to 1.
So, with that, we have a series for us here, and I think so far it is delivering very, very well. Sort of expected the same level of competition here between these two teams. This could go down to game number 5 at this pace, but now we're going to one of Heresy's home maps. Should it be Team Islands or should it be Cape of Storms if you are Heresy?
Yeah, I guess it's whatever you feel like playing. Probably just Cape of Storms, I would guess, by the civs. Yes.
Yeah, indeed, we're gonna go to Cape of Storms. We have Persians, Huns, Italians remaining for AM, so it's either Persians or Huns as one of their civs. Maybe Huns, because I think Persians might be slightly better for Kavasan. Burgundians, Goths, Teutons, that feels like a Goths flank to me, even just looking at it blindly. We'll jump into game number 3 over here, and we will have Cape of Storms, apparently here for Miguel+Dogao as their first home map. I am paused at 20 seconds, so let me know whenever you are there.
Lita, always starting the pause at a different time for just keeping Ornlu on his toes. Okay, I'm at 20 seconds.
Alright, so let's do a 3, 2, 1, and go. Welcome to Cape of Storms. We'll have an interesting Civ matchup. Surprisingly, no Gods from MbL. I would have expected MbL to pick Gods here because this is the dream laming scenario with all those huntables out there, even though most of them are at the back for Miguel+Dogao, and that's amazing. No forward huntables for MbL to lame is an absolute dream, all 3 of them for Miguel at the back, and, well, Dogao has some on the front, but those are sheltered by Miguel here. So we will have MbL in blue Persians as flank. Pocket will be Burgundians for Nicov. I feel like once again these civs feel very, very heavily mismatched for this map. Whereas on the other side, Miguel will be playing Celts in red and Dogao will be playing Lithuanians in yellow. A civ that's...
Oh yeah, that's I feel a rough matchup for sure.
Yeah, that is an extremely good civ for Dogao here. The fast dock with the hybrid map, the ability to yoink the relics very easily because all of them are here in the middle. And even though neither of the flank civilizations do have a great archer play, so they will kind of stall out in early Imperial, I would still favor Celts over Persians in this situation. Because, well, Nicov is probably going to be the Burgundian cavalry player here.
Yeah, now the one thing that Burgundians do have here, which is really nice, is that you can get gillnets in Feudal Age. So if you can expect to get a pretty good fish boom without being under a ton of pressure, which is pretty common on this map, you can really benefit from having super good fishing ships. It's like you have better than Imperial Age Japanese fishing ships in Feudal Age.
Yeah, indeed, that could be something, and so far from what we have seen on this map is that there is not really a lot of fighting on water going on, so the pocket player can usually get away with a decent fish boom in Feudal or so, without investing that much into naval combat.
Yep. Dogao already with the dock up and running. I mean, Lithuanians are just such a good civ, man. It's like they're just good everywhere. They're great on hybrid maps, they're great on open land maps, they're great on closed land maps, they're great in team games.
Yeah. Oh, look at the MbL though. This is a classic MbL level of playing. They will go for the big wars. I actually like it because basically you lock down this passage on the south, which is the closest the players are, and it forces the opponents to move all the way around on the north, and this could be a position where you could just really have Nicov fish booming behind this one and not even making army, with the game plan being that MbL will just hold these walls, and then instead of Nicov making scouts, Nicov will just fish boom, maybe even fast castle into knights or cavalier.
Yeah, certainly. And I think it just says a lot about, you know, different casters, like, recognizing different things and just paying attention to different things, because I just see MbL's walls and I just think, yep, that checks out, that's just completely normal play. Nothing too odd about that whatsoever.
Still, walling the Acacia trees is sometimes challenging, so you gotta be careful with that. And what I do not like for MbL is he's also going for a dock, so the only player without a dock will be Miguel, who goes for a mill on the huntables, and goes for what basically will be, I think, just a fast man-at-arms play, because don't think that you will actually start a drush with 18 villagers in, especially when you have this much hunt to work with, so it's probably gonna be like something like a 20 pop or 21 pop man-at-arms play from our Celtic player.
Yep, and then you get the speed bonus for your men-at-arms. I mean, Celts are still a very good drush civ, even if they don't get the speed bonus in Dark Age, just because you have the faster working lumberjacks. But the men-at-arm play just seems to be a little bit stronger on this map, especially if you're up against an opponent like MbL, who you can imagine to be walling quite a lot very early on.
What I do not necessarily like is that MbL is leaving, you know, his TC open here, so technically scouts can run past if he's not paying attention, and I guess they're whole game plan is sort of sitting on the fact that MbL is holding these walls, because MbL is investing a lot of time into doing that. Nicov is going for Loom though, so it seems like he's not actually gonna go for an FC. He'll probably just play standard scouts, and the idea is that they will be more defended back at home than the opponents will be.
Also, what's the point of having Nicov on Burgundians, man? He's not even going to get the upgrades in the correct age, not to mention an age earlier.
Oh man, that's savage. That's very, very savage.
Yeah, but he's clicking up to feudal age. Still no eco upgrades for him just yet. It's probably fine. Meanwhile, everyone's actually up to feudal age with the exception of MbL, and I wonder if he's actually going to be going for a fast castle.
Interesting. That would be very, very awkward, but it seems like he won't. It's just a matter of adding a dock a little bit later than others and also committing quite a lot to walling. So, what is more interesting to me is that MbL is actually taking his second lumber camp to the acacia trees, and with this much walling, I could have imagined him going to the middle for those baobab trees, because that could have been just as safe as this one.
Yeah, but I guess this just gets the villagers working faster, even if it's not as good in the long run. But I do totally agree with you that I get MbL wanting to prioritize the walls on the sides and then, sort of creating that funnel towards the town center at first, but then I think you do want to just close it off completely, as Lithuanians opening scouts seems like kind of a no-brainer here.
We will have the men-at-arms coming in here. The other problem that MbL is facing is that his walls are kind of far away from here, and it looks like Miguel's gonna go aggro in this one. Here come the towers, only 3 villagers being pulled, but this could be troublesome for MbL to hold against.
Yes, it could. Yeah, tower incoming. And if I recall correctly, this map has no stone nearby, so you have to go to the north, or I guess there's a stone in the south as well, but you only get the one tower to start with, but that should be enough to get these men-at-arms entry into the bases of AM.
Yeah, MbL is gonna have to do quite a lot of contingency walling over here, and you will force a defensive tower. That's something that is already a decent achievement, and you see that MbL is having a bit of a trouble here. He canceled the tower, made the barracks, replaced the tower once again, and that's not necessarily... Like, it's gonna go up, but it's going to lose a lot of HP on those villagers. And this delays MbL's archer play really, really badly in comparison to Miguel, who's already getting the archers out.
Is MbL even going archers?
Like, I would think that he will appear fire galleys, and that's exactly the case. So, I thought it's gonna be some fire galleys being added with Persians, but I thought it's gonna be like one dock fire galley, and then you still add archers, so you have something on water. But apparently, MbL is just gonna play fire galleys. But look at that forward dock from Miguel, I love that.
Yeah.
Because this way he actually just removes the need to sail all the way across the map to hit the opponent's eco. And while Miguel will be able to disrupt and delay MbL here, Dogao is going to have an untouched fish boom at the back.
Yeah, definitely. And, credit to Nicov. He might be playing against Lithuanians, but Nikov's the one who got the bowsaw. Getting feudal age bowsaw is just so insane, man.
What's more interesting is that he doesn't have Horsecolor playing scouts. Well, for now
he doesn't have farms.
yeah. I just looked at his TC and he still has sheep. What's more concerning is Dogao dropping farms without Horsecolor, and I'm not sure if that's something that he needs. He still has some goats here to work with. I just looked at Dogao and I was like, oh, he doesn't have Horsecolor. And...
Yeah, he does.
Oh, he just finished it then. Like, these 3 farms were constructed without Horsecolor.
Oh, okay. Age of confusion right here.
Anyways, second dock coming in here for Miguel. And for now, MbL's biggest problem here will be to defend against this land aggression, because he's got nothing to defend with. So they're pretty much 2v1 on land. And even though Nicov also added some fire galleys here to help out MbL on water, it's basically a 1v1 on water, but sort of a 2v1 on land. These men-at-arms are doing work here because they help so much at getting through these walls and delaying MbL.
Yeah, it's really nice to see, honestly. I like the coordinated aggression here from Dogao and Miguel. Again, really love the forward dock play, because normally it takes ships so long to sail all the way around, I guess, the Cape of Good Hope. I think that's what it's called, the one in South Africa. But yeah, still going to be really tricky here for MbL to defend on both fronts at once.
Dogao is gonna have to make some fire galleys as well, because MbL actually snuck 2 fire galleys forward, as we have a bit of a water fight over here for MbL. MbL's busy walling behind. That's a very, very hard wall behind, which means that he doesn't really have the time to focus on the water engagements, eating some demo hits here, and now he's losing his fishing eco. Worth pointing out that Nikov's fishing eco, though, is crazy. It's 11 fishing ships, and their overall eco is much better. And Nicov is clicking into castle just to... Actually, no, Dogao is clicking first to castle, soon followed by Nicov.
Yep, Nicov just needs a little bit more gold. But that's going to be a nice little advantage here for Dogao. His own fishing eco should be, well, actually, a lot of it's getting sunk there from MbL. So still has 5 fishing ships, still pretty decent. But as you were saying, the eco advantage for Nikov's team is very, very great.
Yeah, that is big. On the other hand, though, you could potentially get double-teamed on land still, and that's something to consider. Like, Nicov is going to go for Cavalier, but behind this you have a fairly well-boomed Lithuanian player that is going to be able to start picking up relics, and then the Cavalier won't matter much in Castle Age if the Lithuanian player has relics.
That is very true. I mean, Lithuanian Knights are just very, very scary in general. I mean, once you get 3 relics as Lithuanians, you're better than Burgundian Cavaliers, which is pretty crazy to think about. But still, the fact that Miguel is not with any fishing eco of his own means that his economy is going to be by far the worst of anyone in the game right now. He's only at 34 villagers. He's still so far away from Castle Age that this could be a big issue for Heresy going forward.
Yeah, exactly. He's committing everything that he can into the water push, but he's not really hitting Nikov's fishing eco, so MbL is holding him off with 2 docks. Obviously, those are Persian docks, but MbL is able to hold him off, which means that Nikov's fishing eco is untouched, and that's what matters. Nicov is sitting on 11 fishing ships, Dogao has only 5.
Yeah, that's not anywhere near as ideal. I don't know if Nicov ever grabbed gill nets, but if he did, that would just be so insane.
Oh, but look at the scouts from Dogao and the baobab trees, man. There was a hole there. It's actually a fairly visible hole.
Yeah, that's actually...
That's actually a very, very visible hole, but walling off acacia trees and baobab trees is always hard, and this is exactly what Nicov wanted to avoid with all these. That was the game plan, that they have Nicov going for a fairly greedy play here, focusing on getting an earlier Castle Age for Knights, and MbL fighting on water, but that was just a big opening here, and that lets the scouts come in, and this is important, because this distracts Nicov and forces him to chase, and if these scouts hit MbL, that could be a disaster for him. Nice quick walls, though, from our blue player here.
Yeah, from both players, actually, having some very nice quick walls. Now the Knights will be coming out here for Nicov. Still going to be having a hard time chasing down the scouts, and this is just going to give time for Dogao to get monks and relics, and that is exactly what he's doing, man. This is going to be so scary.
Indeed, he's going to be able to start picking up relics really fast here, and this also gives time for Miguel, because we have to keep in mind that Miguel is feudal agent. He would have a hard time defending against, like, knights early on, as we will have War Galley coming in for Nicov to win water, but this buys time for Miguel to get himself up to Castle Age here.
Is he about ready to click up? Still a little bit off, but...
And all the archers. This is so good for MbL. He finally added archers, and that could be a disaster for Miguel, who, as you said, has a very, very weak eco already.
Oh, the villager's getting stuck! Oh, that's so awkward.
Oh, that feels so bad, and the overall ecos are now massively in favor of Nikov's team, and yeah, it's Lithuanian Knights, but it starts to slowly become a 2v1 here, because Miguel is going to become less and less of a factor here with only 36 villagers when everybody else is above 50.
Yeah, it's a feels Mama Do Man moment. This is just... It just hurts so much. Let's see, we have 1 relic in so far, 2nd relic on the way for Dogao. I mean, he's really going to need to use the power of Lithuanian cavalry to carry things through.
Yeah, but that's the only hope that he's gonna get here. Now, Nikov's Knights aren't well upgraded, so he's got only +1 defense, obviously no bloodlines with Burgundians, but no cavalry either. MbL, however, is in feudal age as well, something that I completely forgot about, and that could be troublesome now, because how would you feel about Miguel going for now like a pike and siege push or so? Because Celts could definitely do that,
Celts
And
can, but Persians are going to be hard to kill, and hard to kill quickly with all that town center HP. Like, I could see MbL just going for, like, a guard tower defense and then just completely stalling any sort of push like that.
he could, but he needs stone for that, and that's not something that he has right now. More importantly, I would like to highlight that that is going to be relic number 3 and 4 being picked up by Dogao, so those knights will suddenly become very scary here.
I mean, and Dogao's eco is also really good. I mean, it's just a hair worse than Nikov's, but still very, very strong. And yeah, if you need a unit to carry the game, Lithuanian Knights, they can fill the job.
Nice revos here by Nicov, by the way. He's a big voller as well. And he gets a conversion on Lithuanian Knight. DC number 4 coming in now for Dogao, so he wants to boom in the pocket, and we could see a longer game here, but the biggest problem is that Miguel is dying quite heavily here. 37 villagers is very underwhelming for this stage of the game.
Yep, Cavalier coming in here for Nicov, but ultimately, your Cavalier are still worse than the Lithuanian Knights, man.
Yeah, exactly. If Lithuanians get 2 relics, even without attack upgrades, their knights are completely equivalent to the Cavalier. And since Dogao already has 4 relics in, that means that those knights are better than the Cavaliers. The Paladins will be way better in the long run for Dogao if this goes into a long game.
Indeed. MbL now adding in a second town center, actually, as is Miguel. So Miguel going to at least try and catch back up economically, use the space that his teammate is going to be providing with these supercharged Lithuanian Knights.
Yeah, the +2 defense is needed because the crossbows are coming in for MbL. But here's the deal. It looks like Miguel is able to squeeze in the fire ship upgrade, and that's very important because he can now push the fishing geek of Nicov. And while Dogao has lower amounts of fish, it is still at least a completely consistent food income that is not getting harassed, whereas Nicov could be losing 10 fishing ships here really easily. This could be a big
Oh, that could indeed be a big dem. Oh! Oh no!
And look at the eco suddenly evening out in just one moment. That was an absolutely enormous blast. And Nicov has 4 Cavalier. His opponent has 23 Knights on the field with +4, +2. And the attack upgrades are just now coming in here for Dogao. This is looking so good now for the Brazilians. And yeah, Miguel's eco took quite a lot of damage, but I mean, Miguel is 2 TCs, he's at 45 villagers. MbL will be on a 3 TCs and 60 vills, but MbL doesn't necessarily have the food eco to keep all 3 of those TCs working. And I think it's getting more and more important that Nicov is losing his fishing eco, and it's gonna go down in between, you know, Nicov and MbL having a more balanced distribution of vills, with both of them having a reasonable vill count, but Dogao just outbooming everybody, and look at that imp timing that he's gonna have here.
Oh yeah, that's going to be so sick. Like, Dogao's eco has been, like, his macro has been absolutely insane this game. 4 TCs for him, only the 5 fishing ships. You know, they never really had amazing water control, so I can understand not wanting to invest too much into fishing ships. But yeah, now even going to be getting iron casting before clicking up. We're going to be looking at 10 plus 6 knights. Oh,
that
boy.
looks really rough. And I mean, MbL's trying to tech into pikemen here, but honestly, even Castle Age pikemen won't stop these good knights, especially when there's monks to heal them up in between fights. MbL is gonna have like +1 defense on the handful of pikemen that he has, whereas the cow's gonna unleash like 30 knights here with +6 and +2, and he's going into Imperial for Cavalier.
Oh, this is so silly, man.
Some nice counter rates coming in here from Nicov. We have to give credit for him doing that, so the eco of Dogao is still not better than Nikov's eco, but that imp advantage for Dogao is still going to show.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be probably enough to close out the game. It is still going to be really tricky to push through MbL. I mean, AM's in a very strong defensive position, as MbL is now even going to be adding in some stone walls. But yeah.
Yeah, this is still tricky, as you said, because overall eco-wise, MbL and Nicov are still on there, and technically there's only one type of unit that is coming in. So if MbL is going full pikes, even though he won't be able to stop Lithuanian Paladins with all the relics in, but he can at least slow them down, and that could be enough for Nicov to catch up in Imp and at least get some paladins on the field himself. Still, I mean, 4 relics for Lithuanians, you might as well just resign at this point. And look at Dogao with the sneaky villager. He's stonewalling in the opponents here on the north to limit their movement.
Yep. That is pretty... That's pretty brutal, man. Imp's going to be coming in just a moment for Dogao, and these Cavalier are just not even going to be able to compete whatsoever.
Yeah, I think all he needs is just +4 defense. He can even take that fight without, but Cavalier +4 defense, and MbL's got an army here, but all they need to do is just make sure they don't die in the next 1 minute until those upgrades come in. And I love Dogao's move to stonewall this in, because this limits Nikov's raiding ability, and also most of the gold and stone is on the north, so being able to secure that part of the map is actually extremely important, because you don't really want to trade on this map. You want to mine all the gold that's on the north.
I don't think I've ever seen this map go to trade. Usually it's much more aggressive than that. But yeah, Cavalier +4 defense are on the way. And it is still going to be a little bit hard without any good siege units for Dogao to push through. And MbL, I mean, he's being MbL. He's got this really annoying army of pikemen and crossbowmen. That's, at least scary for Miguel. But now Miguel actually even has a better eco than MbL, and that's obviously going to be really important.
Nicov is on the way to Imperial, but 2.5 minutes is a long time, especially when your opponent is already getting Cavalier in with the attack upgrades. Blast Furnace will be in. This is going to be 12 + 8 Cavaliers, and I think that Dogao is piling up resources for Paladin.
That is very likely the case. You're still taking an engagement against a lot of pikemen. But of course, it's Lithuanians with +4.
Yeah, this was actually, this is what I was referring to, that we can at least slow this push down with the pikemen. Obviously, it's not going to save the game for you, but at least you can slow this one down with pikemen, and he took down some of the Cavaliers. Still, look at the north, there is more Cavaliers trying to bash their way through walls, as Nicov is just adding more and more houses behind.
I mean, this can delay things, but it's not actually going to save you from anything, and the Cavalier will eventually find a way in. That's the case. They now have +8 attack.
And Dogao actually needs just a little bit more food for Paladin here. Drops a castle on the north, so we might even see some lattice being added. Nicov, once again, very good quick walls from him, but behind this one, MbL is at 68 villagers. He put everything that he had into that Spikeman crossbow push, so even though he has 3 TCs with Persians, he basically has all 3 of them idle. Whereas Miguel is 3 TCs as well, but he was just booming and booming.
Exactly. Cavalier stomping absolutely everything. They have more attack than a fully upgraded Paladin right now. And they attack even a little bit faster.
Nicov is gonna click Paladin first, but Nicov has, well, +1 defense on his cavalry, and that is all the upgrades that he has.
Yeah, I don't know if Lithuanian Cavalier are, at this point, are better than Persian Paladin, or not Persians, Burgundian Paladins, but it's pretty close, and of course, eventually Dogao's going to click the Paladin upgrade himself, and right now, there we go. And yeah, that's going to stop absolutely everything.
Yeah, it is fully upgraded Lithuanian Paladins with all the map control, by the way, for Miguel and Dogao, so gold income is going to be very problematic for Nicov soon. He's running out of his gold mines inside his base. And Miguel also added some fishing eco, nice and cozy right next to the TC of MbL here. This, in all certainty, looks like a game for Miguel and Dogao, as we will have now Castle Age Pike and Siege push here coming in from Miguel as well.
Yep, good stuff to see from him, for sure. Going to be a very nice compliment to his teammates' cavalry army. The Scorpions are going to help out a bunch versus all of those pikemen. And that is 53, soon-to-be fully upgraded Lithuanian Paladins.
With 4 relics, let's not forget that. Nice find over here. This is a nice map understanding from Nicov, keeping those Cavalier on the gold mine, so Dogao is gonna lose quite a lot of villagers to that raid. He's gonna make a couple of lattice to make up for that, though. And I mean, come on. Imperial Age will soon come in for Miguel as well. MbL's nowhere close to Imp, and they would just have no tools of stopping fully upgraded Lithuanian Paladins.
Yeah, exactly. Conscription just now coming in, you could argue that it's a little bit on the late side, but 6 Celtic Scorpions are going to be very helpful here.
Nicov has Paladin, but only +1 defense on those.
Yeah,
So,
the upgrades are just not remotely comparable.
so yeah, it's Paladin, sure, but it's actually awfully upgraded. It's like, it has 3 melee armor and 14 attack as opposed to 5 melee armor and 20 attack. And now it's Paladins as well for Dogao, which...
God, this is gonna be absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I think that indicator...
Oh my god! Oh my god.
I just want to quickly go through the battlefield because I see 4 dead Paladins from the Lithuanian player. Nothing else. It's like 1 million pikemen lying dead in blue, 1 million cavalier from Nicov, but I see 4 dead Paladins from Dogao. And that is Lithuanian Paladins for you. An excellent civ for this map, and Miguel and Dogao take over.
Oh, that is a 3.06 KDR for Dogao. 199 kills to 65 deaths.
Yeah, that was excellent. And it wasn't just the relics. Like, he also did a quite decent job with raiding with the scouts, for example, early on. But obviously, the way that they established the map presence on the north and being able to grab the relics early was extremely important. We have to add that most of the relics were on the side of MbL+Nicov in the map generation here. So it wasn't that easy for Dogao to pick up 4 relics, but he did it. And... well, Lithuanians with 4 relics is sort of a quick way to end the game in Imperial.
Indeed, indeed, and at least that gave us quite the fight to look at. And it looks like DE is crashing.
So it looks like we will actually go to... yeah, indeed, D is crashing. So it looks like the recorded game at the end is causing some issues. It sometimes happens, but luckily we didn't miss a single moment. So...
yeah, I mean, if it's gonna crash, at least crash at the end.
so, we will go into Kawasan, which will be the home map of Optimat. You have 4 civs left here. You go Huns and... I guess Goths? And do you leave...
oh, we didn't see Goths. That was the last set. For Kawasan, I would go... yeah, Huns for sure, plus... Teutons?
I would actually go for Goths, to be honest. It's hard to say, but I think that Teutons make a little bit more sense on water maps. They have at least, like... you have some things going for you. We will see a landing no matter what from AM, I think, with Teutons. But you could have something going for you in like late game with like Crenellation Castles. They have the fast fires available, so Teutons are at least okay.
But Goths are way better water civ than Teutons.
True, but what do you do with Teutons alongside Huns here on this map? I can see Teutons working here.
Huns go Cav Archers, Teutons go Knights.
Can work. It definitely can work. But I'm still vouching for probably Italians, Teutons, and then Huns Gods. It's a tricky one. I can definitely see your point working as well. And I think this is one of those matchups where it could just go down to the individual evaluation of the players on which do you prefer here. Because we're going to have Kawasan coming in. And I was right, apparently.
You were indeed.
This
I'm at
one.
10 seconds.
Alright. Let me jump into the game and we can get going. I am gonna be paused at 25 in this time. So let me know when you're at 25.
Ready.
And we can get going with game number 4 here. Let's go. So we will have Miguel and Dogao playing on the left side as Malians for Miguel, which is a very, very good hybrid map civ over here in red. Dogao will be playing Sicilians in yellow. It's going to be that time of the day when we will see Sicilian archers again. Whereas on the other side, we'll have MbL's Goths in blue, and we will have Nicov in green for Huns. I think Huns was the guaranteed pick here. It was a wild card in between Goths and Teutons, and it looks like MbL is gonna go Gods, which raises the question whether or not we're going to see a laming villager coming in.
Well, it is MBL and it is Goths.
And it's a villager moving forward also.
Moving past his own board, notably.
So, one of the reasons why I felt that Gods could be something that MbL could pick here is because while you can lame with Gods here and then just be okay with Teutons on Team Islands, you can't really lame with Gods on Team Islands. So, one of the reasons why this could be working for MbL is because he wants to go for a lame in what is basically a decider game here. So, if they lose this game, they will go to the decider set and Heresy wins their group. So, they need this win in order to bring it to game number 5.
Very much going to be the case. Still, though, I actually do like Sicilians plus Malians a little bit more, probably. I think Malians and Huns are going to be very similar in overall strength. And then I actually do like Sicilians more than Goths in general here.
Yeah, that makes some sense, especially because this map is not a map where mobility could be a factor. So MbL aims to geese away here for now, and he could actually find that. Oh, but this is actually a very, very good lane for MbL here.
Oh, Dogao. LOS Migdog, man, losing a villager to the boar.
Oh, that is a disaster. He lost a villager to a boar, he's about to lose his boar, and he's actually lucky that he didn't lose 2 additional geese to the opponent here. That is definitely an ugly start for our yellow player here.
Yeah, not super great, for sure. Oh, poor Dogao, man.
Yeah, it looks bad. It looks really bad, and I feel like this map is fairly open at the beginning, so when you're falling behind by that much, that could hurt you quite badly, because you fall behind in feudal timing quite badly, and could suddenly get overrun by scouts, so you could lose your fishing eco to the opponent's fire galleys. MbL casually coming in here with laming the stone now at the back of the opponent's base, so MbL doing all the MbL things you can imagine for now. And, oh, look at that. He's sending the geese, or one of the goose that he lamed away from Dogao all the way to Nicov.
What a great guy, man. Anyway, we will have Miguel and Nicov going for the same pond, going to be fighting over that one, whereas Dogao is going for a forward pond as well, but I mean, MbL just doesn't have a pond at all yet because he's been busy ruining his opponent's life now with the forward barracks.
Oh, this is just so MbL-esque, and I wonder if Dogao will expect the barracks from that side, because it's pretty tricky to spot, and the reason why he might spot it is because he maybe wants to push deer.
Yeah, the one Ibex is very close. And, okay, yeah, just chasing the scout will, Oh, look at that! MbL trying to pull the scout away.
That's a beautiful move. That's a very, very nice move from MbL, dragging away the scout to prevent Dogao from spotting that. And even though Dogao now has Lumin and he's got a house, here come the villagers with the militias, and I think MbL would just want to void that wood line in here.
That would be something. Still, villagers can take this fight. There are more of them, but more and more militia going to be coming in here for MbL. He even has a villager on gold, so he can afford a lot of militia.
On the other hand, I actually dislike the fact that MbL killed that deer with the villager, because the militias could have killed it in a way that you immediately take away all food, and I think Dogao is fine here. I mean, he lost the villager at the beginning and he lost the boar, but he has fishing eco, whereas MbL does not. And on the north, as you said, it's a fairly even feudal age timing for both players, so we might just see water fighting coming in, which favor Malians by a very, very narrow margin.
Maybe, yeah. It's very, very similar. In terms of, like, total wood saved at that point.
Yeah, it's super, super small. I feel like you have a little bit easier time affording that second dock, but that's a very, very small difference between the two. So, one thing that's bigger difference, though, is that Nicov is on 4 fishing ships and his opponent is only on 3, so that's a temporarily bigger eco for Nicov.
Yeah, seems like just the difference between a little bit slower second dock versus having another fishing ship. Just overall a little bit more streamlined build here for Nicov, it seems. But MbL invested into a lot of militia. What, 5 in total? Yeah. Not really getting a whole lot done so far, although Miguel going to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and honestly, what I'm seeing here from MbL is a very, very Lix-like play. Just trying to be chaotic, disruptive towards two opponents at the same time, and just let Nicov sort of boom behind this one.
Yeah. That's pretty rough, especially since it's going to hamper the Fire Galley war here between him and Nicov. Miguel's in just a really rough spot.
And Nicov also took away 3 more goats from Miguel,
Ghosts?
as Miguel also failed to kill the repair villager from Nicov, although the repair villager is very low HP, so Nicov still has to be careful. But minus 3 geese right now, there's gonna be no fishing eco working for Miguel here. Or, well, no food eco, because he will soon lose his fishing eco at this pace, as he's unable to replenish his fire galleys as easily as Nicov is able to. And he will not have any farms, he doesn't have any geese, herdables to take, and he doesn't have the berries up just yet either, so that could be a lot of TC idle time for Miguel there as well.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. He is going over to take the berry bushes right now. But yeah, this is honestly just really painful.
Yeah, this is looking really grim right now for Miguel+Dogao. There is an archer range coming in for Dogao, and he could definitely counterattack MbL, who is still Dark Age, but I think MbL at this point, what is he even up to? He might just boom in Feudal Age now that his Drush has actually achieved its goal, because the thing is that I don't think that going archers with gods here would make a lot of sense for him. Maybe a couple of defensive skirmishers could make sense, but he's definitely not going for a Drush FC-esque play here.
He's got 29 villagers. That's a lot.
But only 140 food in the bank. He invested way too many militias. He didn't have fishing eco either. And this could still be good for Dogao, because he's gonna have archers out and he has an untouched fishing eco, as he might intercept the villager here as well. I think MbL probably want to dock that pawn, but that's not gonna happen, and that's minus 2 wheels for MbL.
Yeah, that is not remotely ideal. Galley even shooting uphill is going to be pretty nice. And it's going to ensure that Dogao has this little pond safe for him, fourth fishing ship being added in. And yeah, I agree that you can't really go fast castle if you're MbL right now. Just going to be grabbing horse collar and double bit axe most likely. Indeed, indeed, indeed. So what to do?
First of all, MbL's gonna pull a villager to take that scout down. That was a nice move. Overall, goes for defensive tower on the gold mine. And there apparently is a sneaky dog coming in here from Nicov, trying to get something done on Miguel's fishing eco, but that's not gonna happen, and the villager goes down there as well.
Nice little save right there for Miguel, who is in an otherwise very bad position. Has a couple demo rafts, but splits are very nice here from our green player. Gonna be a little bit of a firefight.
Like in literal terms, indeed those splits were very nice away. And it looks like Nicov will secure this pawn. There's one completely untouched pawn in between MbL and Nicov. We got Dogao with an untouched fishing eco on this pawn. And so far, Miguel is establishing fishing eco on the southern pawn over here. But Miguel losing 2 villagers here to the militias of MbL that came back on the gold mine.
Oh no!
Miguel already lost 7 villagers if you add fishing ships as well. So overall, they lost 8 as a team and only killed 4. Still, AM's villager count is actually dead even compared to Heresy's one, as we have a couple of inefficient demos there from Miguel. So the ecos are still pretty close, and this game is just so chaotic here. MbL is still getting new militias into the base of Dogao now from that forward barracks, and honestly, I think the biggest beneficiary of this chaos is MbL. Because MbL can just boom behind this one, make a couple of archers, but you never want gods to boom up to a point where MbL could flood units. Even just early Castle Age, getting a couple of Huskars out on such an open map could be a thing, and Nicov also finds the gold mine of Miguel.
Oh no.
That
Clutching in as well.
That is looking really grim for Miguel here, because he's not even reacting to this one right now. He's probably busy fighting on the water, but by the time he reacts, that is looking really bad for him.
Where's Mamadou, man? Oh, man. This is so sad.
Feels bad. Now Miguel has lost a combined 13 villagers in the game, and MbL buys himself up to Castle Age. Dogao will be up as well, but Dogao is basically Sicilians going archers versus gods that can just go Huskars, if that's the case. Defensive skirms are in for Nicov as well. Not something that you often see from the cavalry player of one player, but in this case it's more like two separate 1v1s. There is some ultimate chaos here, but Miguel's eco is looking very underwhelming with only 32 villagers.
Yeah, and only 4 military, so it's not like he really has anything going for him.
Yeah, he's no tools to... He has absolutely nothing to clean up those archers with. All that
yeah,
Nicov
he's
needs
like
to do
turbo
is just
dead.
keep 2 archers on the gold mine, keep 2 on the wood line, and there's a second range coming in here for Nicov in the face of the opponent. The stone mine is getting denied, and yeah, I feel like Miguel is just going to die here. He's just going nowhere from this game. And I feel like in this case, Dogao's boom isn't going to save him either, although it would be intriguing to see Sergeants versus Huskars, but I think the map is open enough that Huskars will just outrun Sergeants.
Yep, Sergeants are pretty slow. Emil does have a nice little fish boom here in the southern pond. It's just not going to be enough, though. Yeah.
Nikov's forge range here on the front actually gets stopped by the archers of Dogao. That was a nice move, picks off the villager, but I mean, still, Miguel is at 35 villagers as compared to everybody. 48 for Nikov, who just clicks up to Castle Age, or 36 for MbL, but he's already in Castle, even though he's not mining stones, so I wonder if we're going to see knights from him, and nope. The famous Gothic crossbows will be the case for our blue player.
Yeah, that seems like it's going to be the case, and that might just be GG pretty darn soon. I mean, Miguel has, like, pretty much nothing going for him. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, his villager count is the same as MbL's because MbL doesn't have any fishing ships, but, I mean, it's a full Castle Age difference between the two.
Yeah, Miguel is trying his best to buy himself up to Castle Age, but he has no land army, and the thing is that Dogao right now has to protect Miguel from the crossbows of Nicov, but he also needs to protect his own base from the crossbows of MbL. And we got heavy blow coming in here for MbL as well. And Miguel still hasn't clicked up to Castle Age here, so he's gonna be the last player in Castle.
Oh man, the villagers having to be evacuated against the archers of MbL. That's going to be a little bit painful for Dogao. He will be up on 3 TCs versus everyone else who's only on 1 TC. Sicilians having that nice little construction speed bonus. But it's essentially a 1v2 at this point.
Yeah, it is very much looking like that, even though that's a nice blob of 21 crossbows for Dogao, and it's not like Nicov has a lot of land army either. He's sitting on 4 skirmishers, but it's probably gonna be triple range CA because he didn't start making archers, so he just wants to go CA, which I think I like in this situation. The map is open enough to just use the mobility to raid the hell out of their opponent.
Exactly. Looks like... I mean, Dogao's, like, trying his best to keep his team afloat, but it's going to be pretty rough. I mean, he's on 52 vills. That's really nice. We'll see if Nicov adds any additional town centers quickly. MbL just now adding in his second right now. There's like a 1 ram just going across the pond. What? Miguel pings it because he's got nothing better to do.
Oh, the random ram coming around. Now the crossbows of Dogao will actually hit Nikov's wood line here, and this could be scary for Nicov. He needs to rush up a siege workshop, but that's gonna be some idle time for him. In exchange, he will be able to raid Miguel's eco though with cav archers. And MbL is adding a TC on this stone, so at this pace we'll actually get to Huskars for MbL. And the ram is just going for the dock, which is a reasonable thing to do, because the easiest way to just idle your those fishing ships is by taking down that dock, even though there is going to be a demo raft coming in here. But if you take down the dock, those fishing ships will all go idle.
Exactly, and, you know, there's the mangonel here, too, so even if the demo... Well, okay, that was a little unfortunate, but, I mean, you're still going down if you're that dock. And is it going to be enough... Like, is Dogao's position good enough to carry 1v2 at this point? I don't really think so, especially because of his Civ not really being super ideal. But still, we have Miguel hitting Castle Age. It's just he kind of has a bunch of cav archers in his face.
Luckily, he's Malians and he can make camels, even though I think Nicov is using his cav archers very well. He's denying the berries, he camped beneath the tower on the wood line, so He's really using the mobility advantage, and you can see how much stretched out Dogao is. He's like in between the bases of Miguel and Nicov right now, but the mobility factor is really showing here, like the lack of mobility to be precise for those crossbows, as opposed to CA. Still, there will be 3 TCs, as you said, for Dogao, and their ecos are still better. Miguel is also trying to get some of his TCs up, and honestly, I feel like Heresy is somewhat stabilizing here, because Dogao's eco is not something to overlook.
Yeah, I mean, getting those extra TCs right away is really so valuable. Sicilians are actually going to be quite nice in that regard. But the thing is, you're probably going to need to make some sort of transition, at least relatively soon, if you're Dogao.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. Now,
I mean, the Huskars are going to come sooner or later, man.
Sergeant's time, my friends. It's Sergeant's time. Now, I think Miguel's doing the right thing, adding the camos here against the CA, but he's still having a very, very rough time just defending against those. Miguel has lost 22 vultures in this game, so he's down to 41, but it's 2 TCs. But MbL is now booming on 3, and I think we're getting closer and closer to a fully boomed Gothic player, which is not something that you want to see if you are Heresy.
Not too likely. But still, Dogao's at 81 villagers. Like, that's really sick. Now grabbing Wheelbarrow. And if Dogao can buy time for his teammate to sort of get back economically, things could be not so bad, although that's a very scary number of Cav Archers with fairly good upgrades.
You need some good ground attacks here, and we get a couple of them. The Cav Archers will now jump in the face of the Manganos. Nikov's Cav Archer control here is actually very, very nice, by the way.
Yeah, very much so.
But the Manganos for MbL will be taken down, so you gotta wonder if this trade was worth it for AM, because at the end they will just trade 2 mangoes to 2 mangoes. And the Cav Archer's not getting overrun. Those camos have husbandry, and I don't think that Nicov has husbandry himself. He's got a stable, but he doesn't even have bloodlines, so I doubt he has husbandry either.
Yeah, I mean, camels are faster than Cav Archers, but not by that much, so things are looking a little bit better here for Dogao and Miguel, and honestly, the fact that they're even still in this game, I think, is just a testament to how well Dogao is playing here.
Dogao is playing out of his mind. He's gonna click into Imperial here, and MbL is 14 on stones, so he wants those Huskars out, and we might legitimately see Sergeants versus Huskars, because what else do you do against the Huskars with Sicilians?
You can go champions, fully upgraded champions.
True, but Gods can do that as well, and I think the cost efficiency will be on the side of Gods, so I agree, champions could be a solution, but I'm hoping for Sergeants, because one of the things that Sergeants have over champions is more Pierce armor, and that could be important when you're up against that many Cav Archers.
That is true. I mean, Sergeants are essentially just slightly more pop efficient, but less cost efficient versions of champions. I mean, they are very expensive.
Yeah, they are expensive, and more importantly, production is a bit of a problem, because it's not like you just throw down 10 barracks, you need actual dungeons to do that. 30C now coming in here for Miguel. MbL dropping castle number 1. Interestingly, he isn't going for the hill in the middle, but probably he feels like there is no map control for them to drop it there, and he's probably right.
Yeah, very much so. The thing that is a little concerning, though, is that the Cav Archer numbers are steadily increasing, and they're not likely going anywhere anytime soon. And it's going to come to a point when it's just going to be very hard to deal with all of those Cav Archers.
Yeah, and the mobility factor and overall the rate factor will be on the side of Aftermath. Like, being able to have Cav Archers raiding and Huskars raiding, I feel like this is the prime time for Miguel and Dogao to go for Stonewalls. Because without Stonewalls, they will just have zero chance at stopping Cav Archers and Huskars in Imperial. Nice raid once again by Nicov here on the Stone Mine of Miguel. Miguel still keeps losing vultures. Losing 24 now in this game. And he's trying his best, but those Cav Archers just tear his eco apart right now.
Honestly, I just realized MbL still has this barracks back. He's actually making militia out of it right now.
Oh, man.
That was never walled in.
That could be something, because especially if he can actually get to Huskars, just streaming 2 or 3 Huskars to the back of the opponent's base like that could be extremely annoying, and that's very, very... Wait a second, does Dogao see it? Dogao sees it, so it's so awkward that he's not even reacting to that.
Yeah, that is quite odd indeed.
Nicov will have to pull back all of his Cav archers to defend here, but crossbows line up for a nice shot for
Oh,
Scorpion.
the lineup!
Still, it's going to be Arbalest, even though they're just Sicilian Arbs, but they're Arbs. But MbL's getting closer and closer to the inevitable Huskarl, but 112 villagers, he's fully boomed. They have an eco lead now, and MbL's still making militias, not even men-at-arms upgrade in for those just yet.
Gotta upgrade those militias to the more powerful men-at-arms. Oh, okay, there it is.
Here comes men-at-arms. Nikov's TC here is actually being taken down, but I don't think that this does that much damage to Nicov. Like, he's going to lose 5-6 wheels and maybe a TC. But it's not like it's an awful disaster for him in comparison to Nicov running into the opponent's eco with what's gonna be like 20 CA and idling half of the eco for the opponent. And there is Anarchy coming in for MbL, soon allowing the Huskarl flood. But for now it's men-at-arms, and look at that, a 36 minutes men-at-arms rush from MbL here.
Okay, honestly though, First Crusade could come in clutch. Like, if I were Dogao, I'd just drop another TC, get First Crusade, and that should help a lot, at least in the short run against Huskarls. Yeah,
First Crusade could be something to consider here. In general, because I think Sergeants could be the way to go. Nice fight over here for Miguel+Dogao close to Nikov's base, taking down a lot of CA. Nicov is still raiding Miguel very, very heavily. Miguel lost 28 villagers now in the entire game. But now Nicov is losing quite a lot of ground himself.
True, but 30 Cav Archers still is quite strong. This is a tricky one to call. Okay, Swordsman or Infantry upgrade coming in here for yellow.
First Crusade time, he's got a castle. He has the castle. This has to be the time. This has to be the time. By the way, we have some raiding coming in from Dogao as well. Miguel's eco is still weak, especially compared to Nicov, but who knows, maybe Sergeants can make the magic happen. For now, it's upgrades, though. You have to upgrade those first. But I like that he's still fighting with orbs that have imp upgrades against Castle HCA. That's a fairly decent fight for Dogao there.
Oh, yeah. And you know that your orbs are not going to be your super scootage.
Oh,
scootage, man.
He's got 42 orbs, so it makes some sense for him to research scootage. And now it's Huskars though for MbL, so they're on the field. You should be getting a decent amount of gold here. Indeed, he got like 600 gold from Scottage, but you gotta wonder if that's a mistake, and this is why not walling that Baraxin is a mistake. Because now it's Huskars flooding out of that inside your eco, and I feel like now those orbs are all being obsolete.
Yeah, that's not super great. Imp now coming in here for Nicov.
First Crusade. Here comes First Crusade, ladies and gentlemen. That's extremely important now that Huskars are raiding your eco, but Dogao lost way too much eco already, I think.
One barracks, man. It's amazing how one barracks built in early game can make such a big difference.
And I feel like Dogao just didn't think that barracks is going to matter. Which is interesting because if there's one civ that can use like a forward barracks like that at any time in the game, that's gonna be Goths for sure. That's gonna be Goths. But here is First Crusade, and suddenly we have 35 sergeants on the field.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice little boost right there, but you're already losing so much. I mean, it's like one barracks, man. Yeah. Okay. Apparently, chat's saying that he checked the tech tree because he got the wrong upgrade because he thought Scootage was First Crusade.
I think we have seen, like, this is tricky because I think we have seen it in the Kaposh and Bhakti qualifiers as well, where I think Kaposh got Scottage, where it would have been, like, it should have been First Crusade in that moment, and he got Scottage. And it's tricky because I think many would believe that First Crusade is the imp upgrade, and when you have new civs like this, you often confuse which is the imp upgrade and which is the Castle Age upgrade, and in that case, that's a disaster from Dogao.
Yeah, that honestly could have been a game-losing mistake.
Especially because Scottish, I think, is fairly expensive.
And it's not cheap, and if you're only getting like 600 gold value out of it, it's not that great.
Here come the Cav Archers for Nicov, though. Nice raid at the back of Dogao's base. That's a beautiful raid, and Dogao is losing villagers left and right as well. So he lost 40, Miguel lost 35, and the overall eco for AM is just so much better.
Yeah, we have Elite Sergeant on the way as there's a huge spider on my wall, man. Hold on a second, Lita. I need to go kill it.
I don't know what that background noise was because I couldn't hear anything out of that, but oh boy, Ornu went to kill something. Just like these Huskars are coming in to kill something, Sergeants now have decent upgrades in here. Donjons coming in. And, well, now the Camels will clean up the Cav Archers, that's for sure. But AM is already setting up trade, they have the map control, and I mean, it's a flood of Huskars versus a dubious production of Sergeants, but Sergeants are still eating Huskars, man. They have 7 melee armor, as opposed to just 2 from Huskars. Onlu's still not back. And
Sorry.
Okay.
I don't like spiders.
Yeah, me neither, but I was scared for a moment that you just, you know, lost to a spider or something like that.
I mean, it would check out, but not quite.
Still, now it's a flood of Huskars and more importantly Cav Archers, and while Dogao is in a position to maybe hold out against the Huskars and he's eating them with the Sergeants, I feel like the problem is that they are behind in eco, they're nowhere close to trading, and Miguel is gonna get overrun by Huskars because there's nothing stopping those.
The Sergeants aren't even killing the Huskarls that well, man.
It's more about the numbers now, I think, because Dogao's got a somewhat consistent Sergeant production, but it's 2 castles, 2 dungeons, as opposed to, like, endless amounts of Huskars flooding out of barracks.
Hey, Lita, remember the first game we played together with Lords of the West? The 2v2 arena game, you were Burgundians, I was Sicilians, and then I made Sergeants, and then they lost to Kamyuks.
Yeah, I remember that. I was actually very tilted about that game.
I was too, man. It's like, what the hell is this unit?
Like, they're technically supposed to be good against infantry. They have 7 melee armor.
Yeah, nope, not even close. Got wrecked by Kamyuks. But GG, well played there from AM, and we got a game number 5 on our hands.
Absolutely, this was just overall well played. I think if you're looking at the real causes, I think it's the mid game for Miguel that just completely slipped out of his hand. He lost way too many vills. He was like 28 villagers down at some point in mid game, and that's not something you can compensate for. And
Yeah,
they had just zero chance to stop MbL from booming. Look at MbL's boom, by the way. 5 TCs,
oh, wow, yeah.
market's already up, so if you're up against gods, you gotta stop that boom before it actually starts flooding out units, and I have to say that they weren't able to do that, mainly because Nicov did an excellent job with the archers and the CAs with the raiding, and then MbL was just booming behind that, and maybe if Dogao doesn't lose the villagers here to that forward barracks, but this was just a way better played in, I think, every aspect of the game by MbL+Nicov.
Yeah, and so far we have everybody winning their home maps, right? So you can clearly see where the preparation lies for these teams.
Absolutely, and this will come down to Team Islands as a decider game. I think Memb is very, very sad somewhere in Spain right now.
My game crashed again.
Yeah, I was actually expecting something like that because you don't see Dogao's name crossed out in Capture Age. So it looks like these wrecks are killing the game. Luckily, they're killing it at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not really a big deal. As long as the game doesn't crash in the middle of the game, that's not really a big deal. But
I feel like Robo would have told us if that was the case, though.
Yeah, probably. So anyways, we will go down to Team Islands as the decider game, and it's gonna be Italians Teutons versus Vikings Koreans. Which of those two do you favor here?
Vikings Koreans by a massive margin.
Yeah, that seems legitimate, especially if you think about the fact that, like, we know that MbL is going to land with Teutons. That's just the way that he would land with any civ. But when it comes to late game, let's say if MbL's landing fails, for example, then I still prefer Vikings Koreans as a combination. We might see some turtle ships here, or at least we could pray for some.
Oh, you know that would make me so happy, man.
I know.
Anyway, I'm in the game.
Yeah, I'll be in there in a moment as well. I'm paused at 11-12 seconds, so let me know when you're ready and we can jump into the cider game here.
Alrighty, I am at 12 seconds as well.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, and go. We will have Miguel+Dogao on the left side as Koreans and Vikings in red and yellow, and right side will be MbL+Nicov as Teutons and Italians in green and blue. I feel like MbL is still a dangerous player when it comes to landing, so many teams attempt to do this, like one player lands, other plays water, but not all of them are super great at that. Like Yo and Lix is a great example of a team that does that very well. And MbL+Nicov is another one as well. Like MbL, as we have seen the previous game, he's extremely disruptive when it comes to just delaying you, annoying you, harassing you. And a landing from MbL is very tough to stop.
Yeah, that is... it's something that he is surprisingly good at, I guess some people might say. Just because people think, oh yeah, MbL is hydrophobic, as they say. But yeah, no, because he doesn't like going for the regular water play, it means that, well, you have to play a lot of water maps for tournaments, and so just go for the landing play, and he's obviously gotten pretty darn good at it. Teuton's pretty solid landing civ as well.
It's actually a very good landing civ, especially once you get to Castle Age, because the conversion resistance is not something that should be underestimated by any means. So once you get to Castle Age and you are actually like pushing in with knights, being able to, you know, prevent the opponent from converting your knights easily is actually a very nice way of continuing on with that push. So it's not like you were gonna get your knights converted in 2 seconds by 3 monks and then you kind of stall out with that push. You will just be able to continue on with much more convincing push. Obviously, your monk and siege push also makes it like a lot better.
Yeah, and my concern, honestly, is remember that one Teutons Islands game that I think it was Doubt. It was just like it went to late game as this map so often goes, and just late game Teutons on water is absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, indeed. The crenellation castles could be interesting to look at. Speaking of interesting things, I would like to highlight that Miguel's got 2 of his secondary goals very much on the front, something that could be problematic in late game for him. His primary goal is very safe, and he's going for a side dock play, which means we're going to see probably galley play from him, and sort of a backish dock for Dogao, but this will be a side dock galley play, so we might see a double galley play from the Brazilians, but you gotta wonder if, like, they have to be prepared for landing here. And oftentimes what you do is allocate one player for landing defense. I wonder if they will do that or not.
Yeah, we do see that a fair amount. However, Vikings and Koreans are both amazing water civs. So you can easily just have both players go water, and then, you know, going for landing defense feels kind of bad at that point.
So we're gonna have a forward dock here from Nicov. What's more interesting is MbL's forward dock, because if you really want to go for landing, I think you go for a back dock nowadays, because that way your fishing eco is a lot safer. I would like to highlight this little indent in the island of MbL+Nicov. It looks like it's so square-shaped over here on the minimap. It looks awkward. It kind of feels like...
It looks kind of like a shoe.
No, it kind of reminds me of how the states in United States are distributed. It's like, hey, let's just draw a line here. That's exactly like that. Where is the island?
That is how a lot of U.S. states were decided. Let's just draw a line here.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of the same thing here. You know, where is that island gonna end? Oh, let's just draw a line here.
Let's see, the 38th degree of latitude. Yep, that sounds about right.
So, Vol's coming in early here for Dogao. They know exactly what is coming for them, and they will probably look for that landing as well. Loom coming in for MbL, another indication that he's probably gonna go for a landing. And here's the question, do you land with scouts here, or you actually go immediately to archers? Because I feel like when you are so predictable with your landing with Teutons, you have to expect your opponent being Vo'd by the time you actually get scouts out. So you might actually want to start off with archers immediately, so that you have the chance to, you know, shoot over wood lines whatsoever.
Well, I mean, Dogao and Miguel are certainly anticipating the landing. I think that you can feel quite comfortable going into late game with these two civs, so you can afford to be a bit more passive early on.
But here's the surprise, something that we didn't necessarily expect, a landing from the Korean player Miguel.
Well, I mean, you're not going to be landing with Vikings, and if everyone wants to go landing these days, then, well, Koreans are the other choice by default.
Yeah, what I like about this one is that a landing with Koreans is way less predictable than a landing with Teutons, because Koreans are an okay water civ. So, this
I would say Koreans are still like a top 5 water civ. They're really good.
Yeah, so it's much less expected by Nicov to have a landing from the Korean opponent than it is by, let's say, Miguel+Dogao to expect the Teutons from landing. Here it comes, 2 villagers coming in here for MbL. Neither of the voter players actually send their scout with their teammate, by the way. So sometimes you actually send your teammate scout. That's not really the case here. And Miguel's gonna go for a Brax back at home, and this will probably be an archer range landing. Nope, it's gonna be scouts because he's not on gold.
Yep, and the scout's going to be dropped off before the villagers, interestingly, but that does mean that Nicov should be well aware that a landing is incoming, and yeah, villagers instantly departing the gold mine.
But this is tricky. This might be intentional. I think this is intentional from Miguel, because look at how far back he's going with the landing. I think I'm not really a fan of revealing the scout early on, but I think this is intentional from Miguel. Because he probably wants to make his opponent believe that the landing is on the front, because the scout was seen on the front of the opponent's base. So that's why he's dropping the stable at the back. So I think this was intentional, even though he's going to lose that scout in all certainty.
Yep. But the stable is going to be more or less unscouted for the time being. I wouldn't say, like, Nicov isn't completely exposed, but he is fairly exposed right now, and MbL for sure has no defenses up at home, whereas we have both of the Heresy players nice and cozy and walled right now.
Now here's the interesting thing, it looks like Dogao is expecting the backdog from MbL, because that's something that you go for the landing. Tower coming in for MbL here, but a counter tower from Dogao should be able to stop that without problems. And so MbL is actually better off having the front dog, because this way his fishing eco isn't gonna be found, and I'm not sure if that dog or that the tower goes up for MbL.
Oh, and what you do not want to do is lose your villagers right here. That would be absolutely horrible.
Yeah, that's a disaster for MbL over there. And other side, it looks like now the stable has been revealed, but Nicov is already forced to make a Brax, and that's a big difference. Dogao didn't have to make a Brax, whereas Nicov did. And you can tell that AM wasn't expecting a Korean landing here.
Nope. Not at all. And the preparation was so much
Nicov
cleaner.
is distracted. Nicov is distracted, and that means he's just running his galleys into the opponent's galleys here without any reaction whatsoever. And that's the problem, that if you distract the cavalry player, that's already a big deal. MbL getting a couple of scouts. Did he just transport his scouts back here? Because he's got quite a lot of defensive scouts here to clean this one up.
That would seem to be the case, as there is no stable on his own island.
And, well, the landing here for Miguel is gonna go down, but I feel like the results are already there for Heresy. So, they did manage to disrupt this water play from Nicov so badly, whereas if you take a look at Dogao, he was completely untouched, and that is going to matter when it comes to galley numbers, even though Nikov's galley numbers currently are better.
Yeah, something kind of concerning me, though, and that's the villager count of Miguel. It's real low. I think he lost all of his fishing ships. Yeah,
he didn't even have any fish. Now, it looks like MbL's transport could be picked off, and now MbL is about to lose his fishing eco as well, so I feel like once the fishing eco of MbL and soon to be Nicov are gonna get cleaned up, the ecos will equalize, although it looks like Dogao is gonna lose his own as well.
Yeah, this is looking a lot worse for the Brazilians than you might expect at first. Nicov is no slouch of a water player himself, and getting some really nice picks right now. 7 villager lead right now for AM.
It's worth pointing out that Dogao does have wheelbarrows, so that compensates a little bit over here, obviously, for that. But indeed, AM has a bit of a villager lead, but Nicov was distracted, so he's behind in galley numbers, and even though he still has the fletching on those galleys, that could be a little bit troublesome. MbL has lost his fishing eco, and I think the bigger deal is that the landing for Miguel is still going on, whereas this pretty much has been stopped by MbL on the other island.
Yeah, and if any of these towers from the Korean player are alive once Castle Age comes in, I mean, Koreans are just such a deadly landing civilization.
And Nikov's gold miners could be exposed here, nice quick walls, but it looks like Miguel won't engage because one of his scouts is low HP, but it's more about the archers now, and being able to keep applying pressure on both Nicov and MbL is what matters, because what you want is Dogao to be untouched, and that probably is going to be the case. MbL is actually going into Castle Age, though. One of the reasons why I love 2 turns as a landing civ is because the farm discount is a massive advantage in this case. You're counting on your fishing eco to be lost, so being able to establish a good farming eco is very underrated, and this could kind of rejuvenate MbL's landing with knights here.
Yeah, if you can find a way to send some more villagers over, start getting some more stables, some siege workshops, some monks. Your monks especially are going to be way better than Koreans.
Still, on the other hand, one of the things that you can do with Koreans to defend against like a monk and siege push is guard towers, and guess what? Koreans are very, very good at that. So that is something to consider as well. We have 12 galleys against 11, but the bigger concern is that Nicov is not going into Castle Age yet, and I feel like this landing from Miguel achieved its goal from that perspective.
Yeah, certainly. And because Nicov is going to be the last person up to Castle Age, and he's the guy trying to fight for water, it's going to be pretty darn rough if Dogao can, like, especially start to get some longboats up and running.
Yeah, that's the other team as well. Still, this is a nice find from Nicov here, sending 2 galleys in and sinking Dogao's fishing eco. But Nicov, what I like about him is that he actually went for a back dog for some extra fish. But MbL's transport is going down, which is a important part of this one, because he won't be able to send any more for the villagers. Here come the knights, and I guess MbL's gonna have to push Dogao here to have any shot at this one.
Yeah, but Dogao's pretty safe right now, and I don't really see how the knights are going to get in and do any damage unless they go all the way around to the overforage from Dogao.
And we have a bit of a galley micro here, but the key thing is that Dogao is beating Nicov to Castle Age by 2 minutes in here. And there is soon gonna be crossbows as well for Miguel, and he's gonna have the extra armor on those as well, which is not something that should be underestimated. MbL made a stable back at home to clean this one up as well, which helps a little bit at solidifying their position.
Save the villager! One of the vills goes down. Oh, quick walls are sufficient.
Yeah, and now it's guard towers, and MbL does only have +1 defense on those knights, so the guard tower actually deals quite a lot of damage. And the crossbows will just pick them up from a distance if it's only +1 defense. Nice move from Nicov to send a couple of galleys to Miguel's base to harass his wood line, something that Miguel's gonna have to react to, and there's an overchop there that might actually result in knights running in. Nice reaction from Miguel to ward that one in. But it's 18 war galleys against just 11 galleys, and that's where things could get rough on the water for AM.
Yeah, but the knights... Oh, why are the knights standing still? Oh, man. MbL's knights idling for some critical moments right there, but still we'll clean up all of those crossbowmen. There's only 2 villagers left on the forward, or for the forward for Miguel. But Nicov hits Castle Age, and he still has his... whatever's left of his fleet at least intact.
Yeah, the numbers are still better for Dogao, but I think that at this point MbL is doing a better job with the landing than Miguel, but Dogao is doing a better job on water than Nicov, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's more or less accurate. But still, there's a monk at home. It's going to be kind of rough against Teutons, though. Second town center will be up first for Miguel. Going to be quite nice for him. And because Miguel's been mining quite a lot of stone...
Yeah, this is... Look at how much time it took for that monk to try and convert that knight. This is one of the very underrated things in Teuton landing, that you can't just stop those knights with 2 monks like any other landing civ. You actually need to commit quite a lot to stopping that. And it looks like MbL will be successful cleaning up this landing from Miguel, but on the water, Dogao is taking over compared to Nicov. But Nicov has a big eco, and that's not something that we should overlook. 54 villagers, by far the best in the game.
Yeah, that's honestly very impressive there from Nikov. Super good eco for him. He's going to need to make some sort of play to come back on water. Italians can do this, though, with some very nice timings. You can go ahead and grab careening if you really want to try and combat the war galleys, or you can just try and use your good eco that you have right now, click up to Imperial Age, and then make some sort of fast fire ship timing. But
Nicov apparently is just... Nicov wants to go for a fast aim, fast fire play here. I was looking at him and he still hasn't gotten Botkin or War Galley, and the only reasonable explanation, based on those resources, if he wants to go into Imperial and go for fast fires.
yep, it's a very, very strong timing with Italians. Just having all of those dock discount upgrade thingies, very strong. There we go, clicking up to Imperial Age before the 26-minute mark. Very strong there for Nikov. And yeah, even after the Italian nerf, it's still a really good timing.
And also credits to Nicov for using those galleys to kill Dogao's fishing eco. So while Nicov still has 5 fishing ships working for him, there is none for Dogao, and this is looking really good for Aftermath right now. The landing from Heresy has been completely cleaned up, whereas MbL is still harassing Miguel here. Technically, Dogao could click into Imperial himself, although he's only 49 villagers, which is not amazing.
Yeah, the villager count's actually looking really grim right now for Miguel. Why is his villager count so low? Has he really lost that many? I guess he has.
He lost 11, so...
Yeah, that's more than I thought, and this is surprisingly looking very good right now for AM.
Like, the irony of the fact that so far every team has won its own home map, basically, and then you bring MbL and Nicov to Team Islands, and MbL just hating Team Islands, and that's the place where they actually could take a game from the opponent home map.
Yeah, that would be somewhat ironic, but oh, the war galleys of Dogao finding their way onto these fishing ships of Nikov. That's going to be quite nice, and I mean, nobody's economy is particularly great right now. And what's the dock count looking like? Okay, there are a lot of docks trying to come up on the front, but only 2 are completed.
And I think the problem here is that even if you complete the docks, it takes some time to get fire ships in, and once Dogao sees Imperial, he was gonna click up to Imperial himself. In fact, he's doing that as well. So you gotta wonder if Nicov is gonna have the chance to really use those fast fire ships here well here, because he won't really have the numbers. And when there's only low numbers, you can definitely go for a couple of demos to slow this down. Still, MbL's knights are now getting very concerning, and this is the thing that he needs to do, just delay Dogao, because now he's pushing with mangonels, and Dogao loses one of his gold mines, has to focus on quick walling, and behind this one, Nicov is pretty much untouched.
Yeah, I think the difference in this game is actually not going to so much be on the water, but on the land. That's a massive army from MbL, and I don't see how on earth you're going to not die to that if you're Dogao.
And yeah, that's the thing. If this wasn't Teutons, you would actually get like 5 monks out, and suddenly you can hold those knights back, but without those monks, the Teuton knights have 5 melee armor, conversion resistance, they're extremely hard to kill. Over here, monks will try their best, but look at how long it's gonna take for them to convert. They actually get one... That was 1 conversion, 2 conversions actually.
2 conversions.
That's actually better, like, decent given the circumstances, but still, this just slows things down here, I believe. And careening just now coming in here for Nicov. MbL lost a couple of villagers on the gold mine on the right side, so the villager count is still fairly close. But Dogao, 30 seconds away from Imp. He's actually massing longboats, though, which is a very decent way of dealing with fast fires.
Yeah, that's about as good as you can hope for in this situation, and, well, Dogao hasn't, gotten his economy completely wrecked just yet, but these knights are still applying pressure, and it's still really scary. And, well...
Oh, there's an opening. There's an opening, and that's a disaster. And I think the biggest problem is that Miguel is not contributing anything right now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's unable to help out against the landing, but he isn't on water either, so Dogao is right now 1 versus 2, and soon Miguel will be 1 versus 2 because Dogao is going to lose a lot of villagers, and Miguel needs to be an Imperial to be allowed to sling, so you can't just send resources to Dogao to compensate for this. MbL, as I said, one of the most dangerous players when it comes to landing.
Yeah, and that is GG just right there. And AM barely edge out over Heresy, and they will win this group.
Yeah, this is a big win for AM because this was a tough and close matchup overall for the 2 teams. Really, I think, as I said, this could be a set that is that could have been played even in the semifinals or so. MbL+Nicov playing a very competitive set against Miguel+Dogao, very back and forth. You could tell that each team was a little bit more prepared for their own home maps than the
Mm-hmm.
other. And I think this, at the end, I think the preparation was also slightly better for Miguel+Dogao here, because I like the Korean landing more than the Teuton in terms of like the general idea behind it. But the execution here was way better for MbL+Nicov, because Nikov played just as good on water as Dogao did, if not better. But MbL massively outperformed Miguel in terms of landing quality.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Eventually, just red got cleaned up. Castle Age, just like a few crossbowmen, like similar numbers of crossbowmen and knights is not exactly competitive for the crossbowmen. And yeah, just really great series. You can tell these teams are very closely matched, very high level series. And I look forward to watching them both play in the future. But of course, will be Heresy going to the decider match, but I think they'll be fairly heavily favored against Bruh and Seto.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is that they will be heavily favored. So the interesting thing about this one is that there is technically a chance, even though there is absolutely no guarantees, that we could see the same matchup in the single elimination stage of the tournament. Because if like Harris is able to win in the decider game, and especially with the gameplay that they had today, they should be the favored team. Then they're not. They're actually up against Vietnam Legends B, by the way. In
I'm
there,
sorry. I thought we were in the same group as earlier. Um,
but yeah,
Ooh,
I
that should be a
think
really sick match.
that is going to be interesting because Bad Boy and Song Song also mean business. So
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that Heresy has a massive upper hand over them, but I would say something like 65-35 or so in their
Mm-hmm.
favor, especially mostly coming from preparation. But if Miguel+Dogao win that, they also get into the quarterfinals, and we will get the interesting situation of a potential rematch in the single elimination stage. But with that, we have Aftermath winning their Group B is in the hands of AM, the previous champions of the tournament, who are also looking pretty strong in this one, although there are some ups and downs for them, I would say.
Oh yeah. I mean, neither of these teams played perfect, but that was as much because the other team was able to take advantage of like any little weakness as much as like them just playing poorly, which I don't think either team did.
Absolutely. So AM wins the group, and we'll have Miguel+Dogao playing in the decider game.